Ladies and gentlemen, people of the universe, I bring to you Dr. Michio Kaku.
How do you do? Glad to be here on the planet Earth with you guys.
Well, thank you. It's a big honor.
Mm-hmm.
Very safe to say that in the world of scientists, that you're on the Mount Rushmore.
Well, I try to convey the excitement and the drama of science as we begin to probe the ultimate nature of reality itself.
Yeah, and I'm profoundly interested by the nature of reality because I think that we've got it all wrong.
Well, how would you recreate reality if you were God?
Well, let me qualify my statement. I think we've got reality all wrong. I think that scientists cling to the notion that consciousness is generated by the brain.
It's a byproduct of the neural processes, right?
And so you're on that team? You believe?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Consciousness emerges from the neural networks. We can talk about a cosmic consciousness, but that's a whole nother ball of wax.
Ooh, I think I'm very interested in the cosmic consciousness because my view on it is that I would make an analogy, a metaphor that we should stop viewing the brain as a transmitter and more as a receiver. Like, for example, if we think about a radio, the radio doesn't create the signal, it receives the signal. So if you were to hypothetically take a baseball bat and smash the radio into oblivion, you've done nothing to harm the signal. And so I think that consciousness is more the signal, and the destruction of the human body does nothing to harm it. So that's where the idea of life is eternal kind of kicks in for me. And I wonder if you could react to that.
Well, I have a different point of view on consciousness. I think that even inanimate objects, of animals and objects, can be conscious. I think the smallest unit of consciousness is a thermostat. A thermostat understands the surrounding temperature and makes an adjustment. So a feedback loop that allows you to accommodate the environment is, I think, the unit of consciousness. A plant, I think, would have maybe 10 units of consciousness. It analyzes sunlight, water, temperature. That's the consciousness of a plant. Then we go to maybe an alligator. An alligator may have, I think, several hundred units of consciousness because they have to find the prey. They have to have a three-dimensional representation of reality. And the back of the brain is that reptilian brain. And as we evolved from the reptilian brain, the brain went forward to become the monkey brain. And the monkey brain is the brain of social networks. That is hierarchies. Who's your friend? Who's your enemy? Who's your ally? That, I think, is the monkey brain, which is the center of the brain. Then the big question is, what are we on this chart? All the way starting from a thermostat, going up to a plant, going up to an alligator, going up to a monkey. Where are we on this consciousness scale? I think our consciousness is the prefrontal cortex. What am I going to do tomorrow? What the hell am I doing here, right? You're thinking about the future, okay? So the prefrontal cortex, the front part of the brain, is the human brain, the brain that sees the future. Now, let's do an experiment to prove my theory. Go home tonight and talk to your dog and teach your dog the meaning of tomorrow.
Right.
You
Yeah.
can't do it. You cannot teach animals the meaning of tomorrow, okay? We, on the other hand, live in tomorrow. We're constantly thinking about, what am I going to do today? What am I going to do tomorrow? What the hell am I doing here today? This is what we consciously think about. And so that's why I think that that's the human consciousness which separates us from animal consciousness, which talks about space and time. I mean, space. But our brain talks about time. It's a time machine.
Right.
Is there such a thing as AI consciousness?
I think we're getting to that point where robots can eventually begin to see maybe a little bit into the future. But right now, robots live in the present. They're very primitive, and they only live in the present. We, on the other hand, live in the future. That is what distinguishes the prefrontal cortex, the front part of your brain, from every other animal's brain.
Yeah, the ability to contemplate a reality, a moment outside of the present moment.
That's right.
That is unique to humans. There's
That's
no
right.
other living organism that can do that.
That's right. No other organism thinks and lives in the future. We constantly live in the future.
Yeah.
We're constantly thinking about things that are even going to happen after we die. Okay?
Right.
Even after we're not here, we constantly think about what the universe is going to be like after we're gone. Animals don't do that.
Right.
Animals live in the present.
So by that measure, it's safe to say that humans are the only living organism with the capacity to fear death.
I think so. We're the only ones. Because for animals, they don't have to do that, okay? We, on the other hand, we're not blessed with claws and armor and wings. We don't have all the advantages that animals have. The only advantage that we have in terms of evolution is the brain. And the brain imagines the future. That's why we survive. That is the Darwinian reason why we are like that, because we're not strong, we don't have talents, we don't fly, we don't have claws, we don't have fangs, none of that. The only thing we have going for us is the brain, which sees the future. That is what distinguishes us from all animals.
Yeah. And the concept of money kind of fits into that, right? That, like, because it's less about whether it's the future, but we can tell a story about something which you can't see or touch in the immediate space, something that's not tangible. And I think that's another thing that animals are not capable of doing. So animals would never be able to have money.
Yeah, and what is money? I think I'm a physicist, and we break everything down in terms of two things, energy and information. That is the basis of all life, even intelligent life in the universe. And money is a representation of energy. It allows you to do things. It's a representation of energy. So energy and information are the two ways in which we rank civilizations. We can rank animals. We can rank everything in terms of energy and information.
I wonder if...
I mean, but are like monkeys like hoarding bananas as a form of currency to start bartering, or they're just kind of day by day?
Well, the bananas and energy is a form of energy, and that's why animals understand that food is energy, and you can bargain with that. And so, like I said, everything can be reduced in terms of energy and information.
I feel compelled to push back on the idea that money is energy when it's so fictional. It's just an idea. It's not. It's
an idea that can do things. Energy is the ability to move objects. That's what energy is. And that doesn't mean you're moving objects now. It means you can move objects.
Right.
And that's what money is. Money is a form of energy, stored energy, because it allows you to do things in the future.
Right. So by that measure, then energy and power are interchangeable terms.
Yeah, power is a form of energy. That's right. And so when we physicists look at alien life in outer space, that's how we rank civilizations in outer space. So, for example, Kardashev ranks civilizations of the future. A Type 1 civilization harnesses the energy of a planet. So it's planetary. They control the weather. They control earthquakes. Anything planetary they control. That's the energy of a Type 1 civilization. Type 2 civilization controls the energy of a star, like Star Trek. Star Trek would be a Type 2 civilization because they can play with a few stars in the sector of the galaxy. Then there's Type 3. Type 3 is galactic. They roam the galactic space lanes like Star Wars. Star Wars would be a Type 3 civilization. Now, what are we on the scale? Are we Type 1 that can play with the weather? Are we Type 2 that can play with the sun? Are we Type 3 that can play with the Milky Way galaxy? No, we're Type
0.3.
0.
But aren't we starting to manipulate the weather? Like in Dubai, they can shoot salt pellets into the sky and make it rain. In the Olympics in China, they're worried about the pollution, so they shot the salt pellets and made it rain to move the pollution out of them. I mean, isn't that a form of...
Yeah, well, Carl Sagan was asked that question, and he estimated that we're actually 0.7.
0.7.
Okay, because by the end of the century, we will be type 1. Right now, we're type 0. Okay, we get our energy from dead plants, oil and coal.
Yeah.
That's type 0. We're at the bottom. Okay, we don't even rank on this scale. But we're about 0.7 when you actually do the math in terms of energy consumption. By the end of the century, we'll be type 1.0. So our grandchildren will live in a new civilization, a planetary civilization, a civilization that can more or less alter or control the weather, volcanoes, earthquakes, anything planetary they can begin to influence. We can only dream about that, but that's a type 1 civilization. In other words, the civilization of Buck Rogers and Flash Gordon, that would be a type 1 civilization.
Mm-hmm. I'm very interested by the notion that we will be controlling the weather by the end of the century. Can you help me understand what that looks like?
Well, in terms of the weather, we realize that we're just a blip on the screen in terms of energy consumption. That's why Carl Sagan said we're 0.7. But once we get 1.0, we can begin to influence tornadoes, begin to influence humidity, and begin the process of altering the weather, which we can only dream of today. Okay.
And what would it look like what's the technology in adapting the ability to influence the weather?
Well, again, it's energy. Okay. We're going to have much more energy available to us by the end of the century. We're going to have fusion power, for example.
Oh, okay, now
within 10, 20 years. And with that energy from fusion, we'll be able to begin the process of altering the weather.
Is fusion like nuclear, or is it different, or is it similar?
Well, uranium is what most people think of when they think of nuclear. But I'm not talking uranium.
That's what Doc Brown was trying to get in Back to the Future. Was
right,
that uranium?
With the portable Mr. Fusion.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, fusion power is the power of hydrogen. It's the power of the sun. Nowhere in the galaxy we know of does a civilization use uranium except us. We're the only ones who use this backward technology called uranium. The universe uses hydrogen. That's what the sun burns. The sun burns hydrogen. It's clean, no nuclear waste, does not melt down, and is basically almost for free. Though the only waste product of a fusion plant is helium gas, which is commercially valuable. You can actually sell helium gas.
Why haven't we been able to get that? Is it just because we haven't figured out the math? Is it like math, or is it something different? Like we have to go in steps and phases to the technology?
You have to heat hydrogen gas to tens of millions of degrees. The sun does it by gravity, because gravity compresses evenly like a ball being compressed, okay?
Yeah.
However, on the Earth, we can't do that. We don't have magnetism. We don't have hydrogen that can be compressed like a ball. We have a donut instead. We create a magnetic field in the shape of a donut, squeeze the hydrogen gas in the donut, and then create fusion, okay? Now that, of course, is very awkward, but Mother Nature does it spherically. That's why we have stars. Stars are spherical. That's why they're so easy. They form by themselves. By themselves, stars form because they're spherical, because gravity is unipolar, okay? Magnetism is bipolar. And that, in one sentence, is the reason why we don't have fusion plants everywhere. Bipolar compression is much more difficult than unipolar compression. Nature compresses stars evenly by gravity. That's unipolar. We have to create donuts on the planet Earth and squeeze the hydrogen gas as a donut, or use laser beams. And that's what was done in Livermore National Laboratories in California just last year. Laser beams heated hydrogen pellets to tens of millions of degrees, and we attained break-even. So we're now at the beginning of a fusion era.
And that has to do with lasers.
Lasers that are being used in California. In France, they use magnetism.
I just read that some country they just created a submarine that travels like an infinite amount of speed using lasers. Have you heard about this?
No, but
Isaac, can you look that up? Just like maybe type in like a submarine that propels itself with lasers. Yeah, Chinese use power lasers to go ultra fast. If you can see on the screen right there, I don't know if you've seen that before. But the reason I'm saying that is because, like, you know, Neil deGrasse Tyson was talking about, you know, how do we travel faster than the speed of light? And then he started talking about lasers. Does lasers help things propel faster than what we can?
No. To break the light barrier, to go faster than the speed of light, you have to use a whole new set of physical equations. You have to create, you know, warp drive, basically. Einstein in 1935 came up with the wormhole. And a wormhole is a shortcut through space and time, requiring the energy of a star. But think of Alice in Wonderland. The looking glass of Alice is the wormhole. It's the gateway between two universes. And the person who wrote Alice in Wonderland was Charles Dodgson, a mathematician from Oxford who couldn't use his real name, so he invented a name, Lewis Carroll, to write Alice in Wonderland. But Alice in Wonderland is based on a wormhole. That is a gateway between two parts of the universe. And if you can then negotiate through a wormhole, then you can go faster than the speed of light.
Is that what the gargantuan was in Interstellar? If you've seen that movie, it's a black hole, right?
Interstellar was they consulted with physicists, and at the end of the movie, they begin to reveal the secret of going into outer space, and it was basically warp drive, and they basically used string theory to justify it. At the last scene of the movie, Matthew McConaughey is floating.
Yeah,
he's floating
around Jupiter.
What is he floating in? He's floating in hyperspace, a higher dimension, which is the home of string theory, which is what I do for a living.
And does that have to do with, like, the tesseract? Like what?
A tesseract is a higher dimensional unraveled hypercube. So that gives you a glimpse of what the fifth dimension would look like.
In 3D.
Right. I'm a string theorist. I work in 11 dimensions. And in 11 dimensions, we think that we can, quote, read the mind of God. We think that the 11 dimensions is the ultimate dimension of space-time.
Yeah, so that's because when you were working on string theory only made sense if there was 11 dimensions.
That's right.
I don't even know what that means, to be honest with you, but I like
it.
I think I saw one of your videos a while ago, but like, can you explain what that means to me? Because there's 3D, there's 4D, there's 5D. Why would string theory make sense in 11D?
Well, we have four forces that rule the universe. We have gravity, we have light, and we have the two nuclear forces. And in 4 dimensions, the world that we live in is not big enough to harness all 4 of these forces. You have to go to a bigger room in order to accommodate the forces that we see in nature, and that's the 11th dimension. In 11th dimension, there's enough room in which to accommodate all the forces that we see in nature. So strings, each vibration of the strings would be a particle. So an electron would be vibrating like this, and a proton would be vibrating like that. That's why we have so many particles, because we have so many notes on a vibrating string. So physics is the harmonies that you can create on all these vibrating strings. Each vibration is a particle. And then chemistry is basically the melodies that you can play on these vibrating strings. The universe is a symphony of vibrating strings. And then the mind of God that Albert Einstein wrote about eloquently would be cosmic music resonating through 11-dimensional hyperspace.
But he didn't know about string theory.
What?
Einstein didn't know about string theory yet, right?
No, but he was on the verge, I think, of getting something very close to it. I've gone through Einstein's old notebooks.
The theory of everything.
Yeah, he was looking for the theory of everything. And he was trying to create different universes which would accommodate the Big Bang and accommodate the universe of today. And he failed. The mathematics of 1930 was not powerful enough to do it. The mathematics of today is powerful enough. And he was basically leaning towards string theory, but no, he never got there.
Wow, that's fascinating.
It is.
I was asking the guys yesterday. I'm an idiot, but I really like space. You know, like it's just so fascinating. And I was talking to the guy. What are you laughing at? But I was like, maybe you can like help me understand like the size of the universe. And what I mean by that is we have a sun, I'm gonna try to get this out from my brain to my mouth in front of all these cameras right now. But we have a sun, and within our Milky Way galaxy, there's about 300 to 500 billion suns.
stars,
Right? And each one of those suns has planets going around
On
them.
average, right.
Okay? So that's how big the Milky Way galaxy is.
Yeah, it's pretty big.
Outside of that, we have, like, the Andromeda galaxy would be our closest,
Yeah.
right?
About 2 million light years from Earth.
2 million light years away. But so then getting out of that, we have about 3 to 500 billion galaxies, right? That all contain.
That's in the visible universe. Then we have the invisible universe beyond that.
That's not black matter. Is that
No. Just what we can see. We can see out to maybe a few 100 billion galaxies. That's the limit of our telescopes.
So,
But beyond that, there are more galaxies, even beyond the range of our telescopes.
go ahead.
Well, when Scott said this yesterday, I said that I wanted to push back a little bit and suggest that maybe it's not a case of how big the universe is, but maybe it's actually equally small. I mean, to qualify that statement, I've heard it said that as much as you can say, oh, but what's beyond that? What's beyond that? What's beyond that? And it goes on and on and on forever. You can also cut something in half and then take that and cut that in half and take that and cut that in half equally forever. You can go down small forever and you can go big forever. So that, to me, begs the question, is it really a case that there is space and matter? And is it not more in kind of a quantum sense, like where in a little bit of a video game, where you only, like, the video game will render just the portion that you're looking at, right? Like, and in a video game, there actually is no space. It's just, right? It's nothing, essentially.
Simulation.
Nothing and everything.
Well, this is what string theory says. String theory, first of all, says there's the ultimate smallness. The smallest distance you can go is called the Planck length, which is the size of a string, which is billions and billions of times smaller than an ordinary atom. So that there is a limit to how small you can go.
Ooh.
Then how big can you go? We're talking about the fact that our universe, in some sense, is like a bubble. But there are other bubbles out there. And these bubbles can fission to create other bubbles. And so we think that this is a bubble bath. And so that's what the Big Bang is. The Big Bang is when these bubbles collide or they pop into existence. So that's the Big Bang. So in other words, we're talking about continual creation of universes. Universes are being created even as we speak. Even as we speak, universes are popping into existence, okay? And so this is a theory, but we think that this is eternal creation, that universes are like balloons or bubbles. Bubbles are being created all the time like boiling water.
Okay.
And so that's why they say, like, there are realms of possibilities where we've been here before a million times. I've been you in one type of reality, and it's been all different ways. Is that?
Well, that's the multiverse, right? And there are Hollywood movies. It's the hottest thing in Hollywood now is the multiverse. Spider-Man can exist simultaneously in different universes. The multiverse idea comes out of physics.
Yeah, quantum physics.
Quantum physics, in fact, okay? In fact, back in the 1950s, people began to toy with the idea that the theory of the atom exists in many parallel states. And that's the reason why quantum mechanics is so wonderful, that particles can exist in multiple states at the same time, therefore enlarging the universe of what's possible. And that's called quantum mechanics, which is the basis of physical reality. So the idea of the multiverse, which dominates Hollywood movies now, comes from physics.
And is that the same theory? And I think that Einstein touched on this, that every possible outcome, every possible situation, all exists simultaneously in just one moment of now.
Yes, this is called the Schrodinger cat paradox. In philosophy class, you learned about different paradoxes. But the ultimate paradox, the mother of all paradox, is the cat problem. That if I put a cat in a box, okay, and I put a gun next to the cat, okay, there's a certain probability that the gun will fire and kill the cat. Or perhaps the gun doesn't fire and kill the cat. In quantum mechanics, you have to open the box. You have to make an observation. But before you open the box, and this is the killer, before you open the box, the cat exists in all possible states. Dead, alive, semi-conscious, sleeping, whatever. And then when you open the box, all of a sudden you see that the cat is alive and healthy. Now, Einstein hated this idea. He hated this cat problem, and he said that's the reason why quantum mechanics is wrong. Well, Einstein was wrong.
Okay.
We do this all the time. We do this with electrons. That's why we have laser beams. That's why we have electronics. That's why people are listening to this program. You're listening to this program precisely because of the Schrödinger cat analogy that I just mentioned, that electrons can exist in parallel states at the same time. That's called the multiverse, which is, of course, profiled in the movie that hit the Oscars last year. Everywhere.
Sorry. Anywhere and everywhere all at once?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's based on the idea that electrons can be anywhere at the same time. Why not people?
Okay. What's the test they did where the slits, where if the
Yeah. But they shoot it through.
if the particles are observed,
Right.
they do one thing, but if they're not observed, they do the other thing.
Right. You take a sheet of paper and put a hole there, right? And you shoot two holes there. You shoot electrons through it. What's on the other side of the paper? There should be just two holes, because you have two holes in a sheet of paper. You shoot electrons through it. Two holes allow electrons to pass. You should see two holes on the screen. Nope. That's not what you see. This freaks people out. You see multiple states, as if the electron exists in multiple states at the same time.
And whether or not it's observed seems to be the distinction between how it exists.
Well, your mother used to say you can't be two places at the same time. Your mother used to say that, right? She was wrong. At the atomic level, electrons are many places at the same time, and that's called electronics. That's why we have electronics. If it wasn't for that, there'd be no telephone conversation. No radio conversation today. All reality as we know it would collapse. It all depends on the fact that we exist in a multiverse.
Wow.
So when I look in a mirror, I say to myself, is that really me in the mirror? I begin to realize that I exist in many parallel states. And I'm just looking at one of the parallel states that I'm looking in a mirror. And it kind of freaks you out when you think about it. But hey, it's called physics.
That's great. I saw that a scientist sought to determine at which point has the human population grown so much that it's not sustainable, that the Earth can't sustain it. And the answer that this scientist found was that happened in 1970. That we were consuming natural resources on Earth to a point that it was unsustainable. And so that made me start to think, oh, well, there's too many people, there's too much consumption, that the world as we know it can't continue, and that civilization as we know it, its days are numbered. But then on the other side, I've also seen arguments that depopulation, the population becoming smaller because people are procreating less, is an even bigger problem. So I want to ask you, what do you think is the bigger problem? Too much population, too many people, or too few people, depopulation?
Well, Malthus, the great visionary in the last century, said that as we populate ourselves, we grow maybe exponentially fast in terms of population, and we basically eat ourselves out of existence. Okay, so we're doomed because of this fact. That never happened because of, quote, the Green Revolution. And the Green Revolution took place before World War I, when we discovered how to make fertilizer. Okay, nitrogen in the air, okay, can be fixed with fertilizer on the ground so that plants can now benefit as well from the fact that we can create unlimited quantities of fertilizer. But now we're running out of that. We need a second green revolution because the population keeps on growing. And so that's why we need things like quantum computers. We need a whole new set of chemical reactions so that we create a second green revolution so we can fix nitrogen from the air to create fertilizer. Now, the good news is the population is actually shrinking in several areas of the world.
Yeah.
In Japan, for example, there are ghost towns emerging because the population is shrinking. People are moving from the countryside into Tokyo. So in Tokyo, it looks normal, but outside they're ghost towns because children's parents die, they move away, they don't want to rebuild the house, and they simply let the house go. And so ghost towns are forming. So the same thing is happening in South Korea now. It's happening in many areas, and it's beginning to happen in Europe now. So the population, people are not having 10 kids anymore.
Right.
Now, why do we have 10 kids? Because of the fact that there's no Social Security in a lot of primitive countries. That's why people have 10 kids. That's your Social Security.
Yep.
You literally give birth to your Social Security. Now, of course, we put children in schools. They don't work in the fields anymore, okay? They're a negative in terms of consumption, not a positive. They're a negative now.
It's such a good way to put it.
So instead of having 10 kids, how many kids you want? 1.5. Okay?
Right.
And that's what's happening to the world population now, except sub-Saharan Africa. Sub-Saharan Africa, the population is still growing. The curve, of course, is not quite as steep as it used to be, but it's still growing. But everywhere else, in Asia, in North America, Latin America, populations are stabilizing and going backwards. Now, we don't see that in the United States because of immigration. In Europe, you see it. And in Asia, you really see it. China, Japan, Korea, populations are shrinking in those countries.
Big time.
And the governments are trying to encourage people to have kids. It's not working.
Right.
For some reason, people are not having that many kids.
Well, right. And China had that one baby law.
Right.
Where you were only allowed to have one child because they were worried about the population becoming too big, and now it would seem China.
They went the other way.
Yeah, now they're perhaps regretting their one baby law, and they really want to have people to have children.
Right.
And having children used to be an insurance policy because not even necessarily so much that your kids would be working in the field as opposed to going to school. But when you became old and needed to be taken care of, you would have all these kids there to take care of you. But what's happened is the opposite, where children have become really expensive pets that when the child becomes an adult, it's actually the parents still taking care of the child, and the child never takes care of the parents.
So all the predictions were wrong. We're going the opposite direction of having fewer kids, and other countries now are trying to encourage families to be created, because otherwise the populations are just going to drop, which means labor costs are going to go up. It's going to cost more to have someone take out your garbage because of the fact there are fewer people. And so nations have to worry about this. This is a number one thing on the agenda, how to deal with the implosion. Remember the population bomb that was supposed to hit in the year 2000?
Yeah.
It went the other way.
Mm-hmm. Right.
All those predictions went wrong.
I think a lot of people probably won't necessarily understand why it's a problem, because I certainly didn't without it being explained. But we've got the what's called the baby boomers, is the one generation that was the largest in the population really grew when everybody came home from World War II. The baby boomers, there's so many of them, and now the baby boomers are not working anymore. They're retired. So they're getting the Social Security, they're all these benefits, and they're not generating income to tax and to.
Don't say that too loud. Some politician may hear it.
Yeah.
Be quiet.
So now you've got the more of the population effectively being a drain on the economy without working and generating income, while the actual working population is the smallest. So there's just not money to feed everybody, and there's not money for taxes, and there's not enough people, like the doctor said, to take out your trash. So I think implosion really is the word.
But do you think, like, with Tesla and Apple, they're coming out with, like, the iHome robots where it has, like, do you think that's going to affect how many kids people have? Because, like, you don't need anybody to take out the trash anymore or whatever.
That was the unstated solution to the problem in Japan. Japan says, yeah, the population is collapsing in Japan, but we're advanced in robots. Robots will save the day. Well, surprise, surprise. Robots today are pretty stupid. Mm-hmm. And they're still stupid, and they're going to be stupid for a few more decades. We realize that intelligence is very difficult to create a mechanical robot. And so the robots in Japan, you can barely talk to them. They're not the workers of the future. So, people are working on robots, but we got a long ways to go.
But when quantum computing comes into play, will that help at all?
That could help. You see, artificial intelligence that we read about in the newspapers, right, is not artificial intelligence you're talking to like a human. You're talking to basically the internet. These software programs allow you to get huge chunks of the internet.
Like ChatGPT.
Yeah, right. And modify it like an editor, splice it together, and give it to you, and it sounds like a human wrote it. That's because a human did write it. Yeah. All the computer did was edit it. Okay? And so these are not thinking machines. Some people are afraid because you talk to the machine talks back to you like it's a human. It does sound like a human because it was uttered by a human. All the computer did was edit it. So it sounds human, but it's not. So these things don't think. So they're not going to take over. Some people are thinking that the robots are so advanced they're going to take over. No. These robots are basically editors. They edit what's available. They don't create anything new. They don't know the difference between right or wrong, true or false. That's why they'll print all sorts of nonsense. Okay.
When you say that AI is editing, what you mean by editing is that it's just sequencing words based on the probability or the most common sequencing of words that it's gleaned from all of the data that it's consumed.
Right. It has an algorithm by which it chooses the next set of words given the present set of words, but it doesn't think. It's not thinking like a human. It sounds like that because when you listen to it, it sounds like a human talking to you. Because in some sense, it is a human talking to you. It's just been edited and spliced by a software program.
It's so impressive. We spoke with
Dr. Phil?
Well, no, Duncan Trussell. Oh. And he was telling us about this AI software that creates music just immediately. And I said, oh, wow. And he said, yeah, any kind of genre of music that you want, and tell it what you want a song to be about. And I said, I want a heavy metal music song about having to pee too frequently. And boom, it came out, and the song was really impressive. Then we asked for a hip-hop song, a rap song about having to pee too frequently, country music, and it just came out immediately.
Can we make a rap song about string theory right now? I wonder if how accurate that would be.
I don't know how big the audience would be for that.
No, but he's typing it in right now, and he's going to create it, and it's going to... I guess you have to sign in.
Let's let that live in the Duncan Trussell episode. Yeah. We can do better. We can do better. But now, I just want to come back to the question I asked before. The bigger problem: too many people or too few people? Which do you think?
I think it's uneven. I think in sub-Saharan Africa it's going to be too many people, but in Europe and the United States it's going to be too few people. And so I think that there's going to be two populations, one population growing and the other population shrinking.
So it's going to be the worst of both worlds.
In some sense, yeah. And no one's talking about it because it's too sensitive. People don't want to think about the problem. So we're just blindly going off the cliff.
Right. Now, A lot of people will speculate that technology is always going to catch up and come up with the solution to save the day. And I don't necessarily disagree with that notion, but what is the solution? And I saw AI is somehow generating new proteins that have never existed in order to create new like vaccines, new food. Is that something that we can expect the next green revolution to be? Is AI creating new proteins which are somehow able to feed the too many people?
Or like new mathematics coming from AI.
Well, I mean, that's the goal. One of the goals of artificial intelligence is to create new proteins, new amino acids, new combinations, but it's still hit or miss, okay? That's where quantum computers can come in. How do we get new drugs for today? Believe it or not, new drugs are created by trial and error. You get thousands of Petri dishes, put the chemicals in these Petri dishes, and cross your fingers that the chemical that you put in will kill the germ. That's how penicillin was discovered. Penicillin was not discovered deliberately. It was discovered by accident when they realized that bread mold was dying because the germs were dying, okay? So we're still in that era of trial and error to find new drugs. With quantum computers now,
you can try millions of things in 1 second.
In principle, we'll look at the molecular level and begin to tinker with the molecule itself, rather than simply, crossing our fingers, hoping and praying, closing our eyes, and hoping that one of these Petri dishes out of 1,000 will work against that germ. We'll be able to look at the weak spots of the germ at the molecular level, and we'll be able to begin to intervene with this process. So things that we used to think were incurable, like cancer, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's disease, we're beginning to understand the molecular basis for these things. For example, cancer, there's one gene called P53, which is a very long gene, but it's involved with 50% of all common cancers. One gene. If we figure out the way to cure the breaks in this one gene called P53, we may find a way to cure many cancers. And this is where quantum computers come in, because that's the home of quantum computers, molecules. So we'll be able to create new molecules that will actually, hopefully, begin the process of curing incurable diseases, maybe even the aging process. We're beginning to understand how aging works. Why do we get old? We get old because of the buildup of errors. But where do these errors come from? If I have a car, where does aging take place in a car? The engine.
Okay.
That's why cars get old. It's the engine, because you build up waste products, sludge, and stuff like that in the engine. But the cell has an engine too, the cell of our body. It's the mitochondria. That's where aging takes place. And so if we find a way to correct the mistakes, like in P53, we might be able to slow down the aging process and maybe even attack cancer. Now that's, of course, the hope. We're not there yet. But the hope is at the molecular level, we'll be able to crack these diseases.
I'm fascinated by this. And when you said aging is, it's the function
Buildup of error.
Collection of errors.
At the cell, right? Cellular, molecular error. That's what aging is.
Can you help me understand what you mean by an error in a cell?
Well, cells contain molecules. Molecules have to have a very specific function. If one of these molecules is broken or misshapen or is out of control, then it no longer performs like it used to. Okay, and then eventually the the protein becomes inert, and eventually it dies, and that's why you die. For example, skin cells divide 60 times, and eventually they stop dividing. Too many errors build up, and they die. That's why skin cells die. But also there's a way to stop the clock. The telomeres is this cell that gets shorter and shorter and shorter until the cell dies. That's why you die, okay? 60 reproductions of the skin cell, and it's all over. But there's something called telomerase, which stops the clock. Okay? A Nobel Prize was given to the people who discovered telomerase. It actually stops aging. You can get skin cells to divide thousands of times now, not just 60. Now, what's the catch? There's always a catch someplace, right? Otherwise, we'd all have the fountain of youth.
Yeah.
The catch is, this is how cancer immortalizes itself. Why does cancer kill you? Cancer kills you because cancer cells are immortal. They don't die. They keep on dividing until you die. That's why you die of cancer. But you can stop the clock with telomerase, okay? It's a way of stopping the clock so the chromosomes don't fall apart and disintegrate and die. The problem is, watch out, you could also create cancer cells that are immortal and will thrive forever.
Yeah, you stop the clock for the cancer too.
Right. So that's why you have to be very careful. But anyway, what I'm saying is we're on to a new track, looking at aging at the molecular level, cancer, Parkinson's at the molecular level. And that's where quantum computers come in, because that's the home of quantum computers. We're not talking about looking at switches, which is what digital computers work on. We're talking about looking at molecules of aging.
Why is the CIA afraid of quantum mechanics?
Because in principle, they're so powerful you can break any digital code. This freaks out the CIA. Because how do you put a code into a computer? You put a number into a computer and ask it to factorize it. That is, multiply two numbers to create the long number. If I have a number that's 100 digits long, I ask the computer factorize it as the product of two smaller integers. That could take 10,000 years, thousands of years to solve that problem. That's why you're safe. That's why no one can break into your code, because you know how to factorize these two numbers, but the criminal does not. A quantum computer can crack it just like that, because it works at the molecular level.
Going back to the cells dividing, I understand that at any given time, like right now, all the cells that comprise my body, that they all only live so long. They're all replaced, and so there's not a single cell in my body right now that was in my body maybe a year ago.
Several years ago.
Several years ago, and there will not be a single cell remaining in my body several years from now.
Approximately. Yeah.
Yet, even though there's this turnover, all my memory stays intact. My tattoos don't go anywhere. If the cells that comprise this skin were none of them were there since I got this, since before I got this tattoo, how does that tattoo stay there? And how do my memories stay intact?
Well, the tattoo stays intact because the tattoos are ink.
Okay.
The ink doesn't go away. The cells can change, but the ink is still there, okay? So you can have generations upon generations of new cells, but the ink is still there. So that's why the tattoo doesn't disappear.
Okay.
So what was the other question?
My memories.
Oh, memories are pathways. And so even though individual neurons can die, the pathway survives. Like if I have a road and I repair the road is still there, even though it's a new road, even though I repave it or change the composition of the road, the pathway is still there. So in other words, the brain ages, cells die, so on and so forth, but the brain still functions because the pathways are still there. The new cells simply replace the old cells' pathways.
And is the same is true for brain cells, that the brain cells die and are replaced every several years?
Oh, the exact number I don't know. But yeah, cells are replaced. They don't last forever.
And in the brain, I mean, this is crazy stuff.
And this is unbelievable. Michio, my guy, can we talk about aliens?
Sure.
Are they here? Have you seen any?
Yeah, take a look around. I mean,
Well,
I think he's an alien. No, he's an alien.
Are they just us from another dimension, from the future, from the past? Are they real? Are they here?
Well, first of all, you talk to any scientist, and they would say that the distance between stars is so great that it would take thousands of years to go between stars, therefore aliens cannot visit us. A chemical rocket takes 70,000 years to reach the nearby stars. Just one chemical rocket, 70,000 years to reach the nearest star.
But
therefore, these aliens cannot be a type 1 or type 0 civilization.
Right.
They would have to be type 2 or type 3. By that point, you begin to harness the Planck energy. The Planck energy is the energy where space and time become unstable. We cannot access the Planck energy. That's the energy more than a star has. But in principle, a type 3 civilization may harness the Planck energy, in which case they create a rip in the fabric of space-time, or they bunch up space-time and hop over the bump. So there's two ways to do it. Either you create a wormhole to create a hole in space and go through that hole, or you bunch up space like a carpet. You bunch it up, and then you simply hop over the bunched up space-time. You can calculate the energy for that. It is the energy of a star. So you would have to be probably type 3, that is galactic at the level of Star Wars, before you can even begin to think about going to the stars in an afternoon.
So if I understood what you just said correctly, you mean that if you can harness the energy of a star, then you can manipulate space-time.
In principle, yeah. If you can harness and play with the energy output of a star, then you can begin to create a hole in space and time, or bunch up space and time and hop over the hole to go be fantastic distances. And again, this concept was introduced by Einstein in 1935. He created the first wormhole paper. So he took two stars and welded them together, the space-time of two stars, and created a shortcut that would take you between the two stars. However, he also calculated that it's dangerous to go through it. You would die in the process. You'd be crunched to death if you went through the process. Since then, we have discovered hundreds of different kinds of wormhole solutions, and some of them may be stable. But again, the energy necessary to stabilize them is not for us. We're talking about a type 3 civilization.
Wow. So that's interdimensional travel. Would that be?
Yeah, that's right. You're going past the third dimension, right?
So yeah, and the reason why I brought up how big the universe is with all the stars so everything that I said, is it true that like 30% of the planets orbiting these stars are in the Goldilocks zones, which
I think
means
it's much less than 30%, but it's like 5 or maybe 5 or 10%.
So say
but that's still a lot of planets that are in the Goldilocks zone.
What's the Goldilocks?
Goldilocks is like what Earth is to the sun. Like it's the perfect distance and temperature to create life, right? But is that fair to say that? I mean, couldn't some of these be silicon life? I mean, do they have to be like? We're carbon?
Carbon has an advantage that it has 4 bonds. Now, there are other chemicals that has 4 bonds to create complex objects, but they're not as stable and they're not as rich as carbon. Carbon is rather unique. It has 4 bonds and allows you to create chains of carbon very easily, and these chains of carbon are what we are made out of, amino acids and proteins. And carbon is the best chemical out of which to create life.
So 5% of all the planets, I mean, it's possible that there is other life on planets. I mean, it's more than possible.
Oh, yeah, I think they're out there.
And so
whether they visited us, I don't know, but I think they're out there.
Vinny, have you said a word?
Vinny,
I'm just trying to like wrap my head around all this and like really try to understand. I feel like I'm learning more just in this hour episode than I've ever learned in school.
Did you have any questions on string theory?
I don't even know what string theory is. I'm sorry.
I have a burning question that I was running by the guys before, and I thought that you're the only person who can answer this. I've purchased what's promised to be fogless mirrors so that I can shave in the shower. Mm-hmm. Not one of them is fogless. Is there any such thing as a mirror which I can use to shave in the shower, which will actually not fog up?
I'll have to research that.
Yeah, what's
I'm
the
not
science
an
behind that?
experimental physicist. I'm a theoretical physicist.
Right. I mean, it's just a big problem for me.
The biggest.
You know, I mean, I would be willing to pay a fair,
Your
substantial
fans must
amount
know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what's obviously the difference between a theoretical physicist and an experimental physicist is one actually, does it by hand, or but what is a theoretical physicist? Like, you have these ideas in your head, and you're like, well, what's the math problem on that? Like, how do you explain that?
Well, you play with equations. And when I was in high school, for example, I built an atom smasher, a particle accelerator.
As you do.
And I assembled 400 pounds of transformer steel, 22 miles of copper wire, 6 kilowatts of power, and I built a 2.3 million electron volt betatron particle accelerator in my mom's garage.
That's you on the screen right there.
Yeah, there's the coils of the machine right there. I went
why
to the
did-
National Science Fair with that
Why did you do this?
And that
because I could.
that's an example of not theoretical physicist. That's experimental physics.
That's experimental physics.
Yeah.
So I started off being an experimentalist, but then I realized that all the fun was in the equations that made this possible. So I decided to switch from tinkering with magnetic fields and spark chambers and things like that to working with pure theory and pure mathematics.
Yeah, but what do you mean when the fun is in the mathematical formula?
That's
like,
right.
When you're looking at a mathematical formula, I mean, you're probably not seeing the same thing I am. You're seeing like shapes and outcomes versus just numbers and.
Yeah, that's right. Everything in an equation talks to you. Every symbol does something that you're manipulating, and it allows you to predict the future of the manipulation. So when Newton, for example, is writing equations, he could predict the future of cannonballs, the future of the motion of comets. He could predict that by moving these equations around. And that's what we physicists do. These equations are not static. They're not dead. No, they're living. They allow you to show how things move and how things change with time.
Wow.
With mathematical equations, there are theories that, based on mathematics, that the future is predetermined, right? Like
That's called determinism.
yeah. Like
Right.
and for someone to contemplate this, you imagine that when a game of billiards in a pool hall, if you understand the velocity of a ball traveling into other balls, you can calculate where every ball will end up if you understand the physics.
That's the Newtonian laws of motion, right?
Right. So by the same logic, by the same laws of Newtonian physics on a grander level, if you understand the speed of every atom in the universe, then it should follow that the outcome of every situation is predetermined.
Right. This gets us into the matrix.
Okay?
And the fundamental basis of the debate about the movie, The Matrix, is whether or not the future is deterministic, whether it's written someplace, or whether, like with the people in the movie, you can alter reality to create a new universe. Now, Newton and Einstein were both determinists. They said that the past determines the future. You know the past, you can mathematically determine how all the molecules will move in the future. Sorry about that. Whether or not you went to jail or became a Nobel Prize winner, whatever, it's all predetermined. Okay?
Yeah. And do you not agree with that?
I don't agree with that, because that was before quantum mechanics. With the coming of quantum mechanics, all hell broke loose, because now you can only determine probabilities. You cannot determine exactly what's going to happen. So when I see the movie The Matrix, I see the movie where things are determined, that you can determine how things move and how things progress with time. But in reality, you have quantum mechanics, which says that you can't do that, that there's probabilities.
Does quantum mechanics allow for every possible outcome to simultaneously exist?
Until you make a measurement, things exist in all possible states. No, Einstein hated this idea because he thought that this object exists here. It's in one physical state. I can see it. I can touch it. End of story. Quantum mechanics says no. Before you look at this object, it exists in all possible states. Up, down, sideways, burnt, melted, whatever. When you look at it, all of a sudden it springs into what you see. Okay? So Einstein thought that was crazy. He would take people to his house and show them the moon. And then he would say, does the moon exist because a mouse looks at the moon? Well, according to quantum mechanics, you can argue that the moon exists because a mouse looks at the moon. Now, Einstein thought, this is nuts. This is crazy. But this is how transistors work. This is why you're listening to my voice. This is why we have electronics. All modern electronics is based on this idea. So what can I say? Einstein was wrong.
And is that sort of a reference to the slit theory again?
Yeah, that's right.
It only exists because it's observed.
Well, the observation process determines what state it's in. Because before you look at it, it exists in all possible states. Up, down, sideways, melted, exploded. And you say to yourself, well, that's crazy. Well, that's called quantum mechanics. Get used to it.
Right. Now, it's been said that time is an illusion. That time doesn't really exist. That there's only just the eternal moment of now.
Yeah, there was a funeral that Einstein went to, and he wrote the eulogy, and he made that famous statement that even though our friend has passed away, time itself is an illusion, okay? And that one little statement made at that funeral has been plastered everywhere. But it was meant to be metaphorical. I don't think he meant that time itself is an illusion, because all his work shows the time as part of his equations, not an illusion at all.
Right.
But it's been quoted often because it says, even Einstein says that time is an illusion. He meant that this person's life, okay, can be visualized. It's not dead. He's still alive. Even if it's an illusion, he's still alive in our hearts. That's what Einstein meant.
So
time is not an illusion.
So Father Time really is a thing.
Yeah.
In physics, though, isn't time? There's laws of nature and laws of physics. So wouldn't time just be the law of cycles, like seasons and kind of like life's high tide, low tide,
well,
sun
that is
rotating?
a consequence of the laws of physics, laws of Newtonian physics. The fact that the Earth rotates at an axis of a certain angle, like 23 degrees, that gives us summer, fall, winter, spring. And so that's a consequence of the motion of the Earth.
Okay. We're probably getting close, but I had one burning question. I don't know if you want to go first.
I've got a final question. So
Okay, I was just curious on your favorite space movie of all time. Or do you have like a favorite TV show, like Big Bang Theory or the movie Interstellar, or what's like the most accurate? What's your favorite?
Well, it used to be when I was a child, I would love Flash Gordon because it was a whole new world. But then becoming a physicist, I would watch a movie and I would say, no, that's not right. No, that's not right. Oh, no, they got that wrong, right? And it took the fun away. Mm-hmm. It was no longer fun watching science fiction movies.
Because you could not suspend enough disbelief to engage with the fiction.
Yeah, I knew why everything was wrong. But now I say, what the hell? Okay. This is entertainment.
Yeah.
It's a new world. It's for fun. It's for you to imagine things that might exist if we could bend a few laws of physics here and there. Okay?
But do you have a favorite?
Well, the debate is between Star Wars and Star Trek for most people.
Okay.
I think Star Wars is better for special effects and flashy things like that. But in terms of making you think of what society could be like if things were a little bit different, I think Star Trek takes that cake.
Okay.
Because it forces you to contemplate what could have happened if we had evolved in a different direction of society. It makes you think after
Interesting.
every episode.
Very cool.
Okay. Now I want to. think I want to end on this. We live in an age of mega threats. I mean, everywhere, mega threats with the environmental destruction, the depletion of resources, the economic mega threat with all the disparity of wealth, like with the nuclear threat, like just from every angle, it seems that there's something that poses an absolute threat to our existence. And I think it's very easy for people to become just overwhelmed with gloom and doom and pessimism. And in the face of all of these mega threats, do you think that there's hope for us and our way of life, our civilization?
Well, I like to look at it in a different point of view. First, I like to think that we're headed toward type 1. That is, by the end of the century, we'll be a planetary civilization. And you see the beginnings of it already. Planetary music. People listen to only a certain type of music is planetary. Planetary culture, planetary fashion, planetary songs. We're seeing the beginning of the birth of a planetary civilization.
That means like a kind of a new world order where there's only just one society.
Well, it's not like a dominating thing, but you see the beginnings of it. You see the beginnings of planetary sports, like soccer and football. You see the beginning of planetary fashion, Gucci and Chanel. You see the beginning of a planetary music, like rock music and rap music.
Man,
So
that
you-
sounds like a very odd take on hope for the future.
So that's one trend, but that's not the only trend, okay? It coexists with this other trend toward annihilation. Because, of course, we have global warming, we have the pandemic threat, we have nuclear warfare threats, and
Debt,
eventually
just
AI
the-
threats.
Yeah,
right?
and the debt seems to be a huge threat.
Right. But I like to look at it this way. I think that the smallest unit of history is the decade. Anything smaller than a decade, you see fluctuations that are random, meaningless, and you can't make any sense of it. But when you look at life decade by decade by decade, you see a pattern. You see the fact that things are becoming more democratic, that more and more people are becoming energized and becoming a part of the future. They want to determine their own future rather than let the king or the queen determine it. But just a few decades ago, I mean, that's not the way it was. And I grew up during the Vietnam War, and I was in the United States Infantry. And the United States Infantry wanted me to sacrifice my life for a cause that I didn't understand. So that was when I was your age that I had to confront life and death. And before that, my parents had to understand what was happening in World War II. Before that, we had all the wars of the 1800s, which were savage, continental wars throughout Europe in the 1800s. So when I look at the situation today, decade by decade by decade, I see the enormous progress we've made, that there are two trends in the world. One trend is being pushed by the Internet. The Internet has given us information, which encourages democracy. So I think that the main impact of the Internet is democracy, because people are being educated. They realize they don't have to obey the king or the queen or whatever. They can create their own destiny. But on the other hand, we have weapons of mass destruction, and we also have diseases that can wipe out humanity. But I think that's always the way it's been. But maybe my point is, decade by decade, you see the progress that I would not like to have been born in the 1800s, having to be subservient to a king that was totally arbitrary with no laws or reason. We're living in an era that's democratic. And so I think that the Internet has accelerated that process. So that's why I'm more optimistic, even though I realize that, yeah, it could spin the other way as well.
Okay. So AI creating protein could feed people. The controlling the weather of the planet can handle all of our resource issues, and and robots can take out the trash when there's not enough in the workforce, and everything is going to be A-okay.
Well, let's cross your fingers, right? Because there's always some idiot up there who has a different vision. But I think if enough people are democratically involved in this process, I think there are going to be lots of checks and balances so we don't have these idiots up there determining our fate. And so I think that we are marching toward a much more democratic society. The internet has opened up channels of discourse that didn't exist when I was growing up. When I was growing up, it was just one person up there in the high chair making all the decisions. Now everything's being debated on the internet, the good and the bad, which I think is a good thing. I think the march to democracy has been accelerated by technology.
Before we go, if we see a deep fake on the internet, is there a way to know if that's not real or not?
Well, I think eventually quantum computers will be at the point where you can fact check things. See, the problem with artificial intelligence today, chatbots, for example, is there's no fact checking. Because it takes from the internet, and there's a lot of garbage on the internet, puts it together and wraps it up nice and pretty. But some of it could be nonsense, because that's where it came from.
Yeah.
There are swamps. There are swamps in the internet. But I think that with the coming of quantum computers, we'll have fact-checking so that you'll have confidence that what comes out is incorrect, or it'll tell you that most likely this thing is incorrect. So I think we're not there yet. But I think the next phase of the chatbots will be fact-checking. And I think quantum computers will accelerate that process because they're going to be powerful enough to fact-check everything on the internet.
I curse myself for asking another question, but how far out are these quantum computers?
Well, right now we can create a quantum computer that's millions of times more powerful than a regular digital computer on one task. We want an all-purpose computer that can solve any problem on any task. That's still 5-10 years away.
Okay. All right.
One question. You gotta ask one question.
Vinny, come on, one.
All right.
This is the smartest mind of our generation right here.
What's your thoughts on addiction or alcoholism? Do you believe that it's a disease? Or do you think it's hereditary? Or do you think it's a choice?
I think it's all of the above.
All of the above.
It depends on the situation, depends on the purpose, depends on who's doing it and why. But I think the body, unfortunately, has a defense mechanism, the blood-brain barrier. But the blood-brain barrier is not perfect because we're byproducts of evolution. Mm-hmm. And chemicals will go right through it. And that's why there's a drug problem. And as a consequence, it means we have to have laws or chemicals or what have you to try to limit the damage created by these things. But there are gaps in our evolution. We're not perfect. And as a consequence, the blood-brain barrier will allow harmful drugs to penetrate the brain and create all sorts of havoc. And so that's one thing that we have to realize. So there are many solutions. One is the law. 2 is the police. 3 is, rehabilitation centers, right? But a chemical solution to the problem does not yet exist. Hopefully, quantum computers will find a way of neutralizing these chemicals so they don't damage the brain.
So quantum computing is the answer.
Quantum computing is going to save us from everything. Thank you so much, Doctor. What an honor. What a fascinating discussion.
Yeah.
Well, my pleasure.
And we got to tell everybody that you have your book. It's Quantum Supremacy.
That's right.
All right. I feel enlightened. I feel entertained, and I feel profoundly grateful. Thank you.
Okay. My pleasure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. That was awesome.
Yeah, I really think that was great. There you have it, folks. I'm probably going to sound a little bit like a douche here, but I thought I was pretty smart on that episode. I don't know. I thought I did a good job. And whether you agree or not, you're still here at the end of the episode to hear me say that. And you know what that means? It means I love you. I appreciate you. And like I said at the very beginning, the range of guests, conversations that we had over the time in New York, I'll just tell you, we had this situation. We had this doctor, Michio Kaku, and Action Bronson, Adam Friedland, which was the biggest shit show that we've ever had. And I think it might actually be like the most wildly entertaining shit show. And then we ended it off with, should I tell him? Motherfucking G-Eazy. Yeah, it's crazy, man. It was, and we're doing a double upload week. So all of this, all 5 of these episodes are crammed into 3 weeks. And that's how we're doing it, man. We're doing it big on the Wild Ride podcast. And I don't even care if this episode got the biggest audience. It really was satisfying. And the fact that I think maybe it's for the more hardcore fans, I extra love you for being here. Have a great day. Thank you. Is it controversial if I call you the king of country music?
That's up to you, brother.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, people of the universe, I bring to you the king of country music, Zach Brown.
What's happening?
Chilling, man. We're here at a quite impressive property, Georgia,
Yes, sir.
Atlanta area.
Yeah.
And we've got you for about 45 minutes. What's going on in 45 minutes?
Man, I don't know. I'm here. I'm at your service, man. Whatever you want to talk about.
Oh, dude, I love it, man. I mean, I think what's most near and dear to me, I have a nephew who's got both autism and Down syndrome. Mm-hmm. And he's 17 years old and still has never spoken a word. He's nonverbal. He's way far down the spectrum in both cases. And the fact of how much you do to help people with special needs is very big of a deal for me.
Right on.
You know?
Yeah.
I know that you that started when you were in high school. Is that right? You worked at a camp.
Yeah. So I was a camp kid. Went to a lot of camps when I was young, and then as soon as I could be a counselor, I started being a counselor, and then I went to college, and then I started working at staff, living full summers and where the neurodiverse camp that I worked at was Camp Glisson, which was in up North Georgia, like close to my hometown up there. That's what gave me the bug. It changed my life working with kids and people of all ages. So, you're responsible. You have 2 campers coming every week, and you're responsible for having them, shit showered and shaved and ready to go for the day. And then they're integrated with a group of, typical kids for the week. And it changes the way they look at those people or people that are different than them for the rest of their lives too. So it kind of dips you into something for a week. So that was why, I wanted to build a camp, that was just.
That's Camp Southern Ground.
Yes.
And when did that open up?
We've been going for about 11 years now.
Wow.
As far as when we started in the beginning, it takes forever to build the buildings and do them right. Like we're building it's like a university. I mean, it's right there. You guys can drive through and check it out on your way out today.
Man.
So it takes a lot of time, and then bringing the right people in, because I had like transformative life stuff happen to me, like in a moldy cabin with like mildew and, stuff in it. So it's really that can happen with just the people, the people that you have are what helps you have this transformation. But I wanted to build, it's been my life's purpose to build a place that's going to be here for like hundreds of years, like build it where it's going to last, where all the structure and everything's going to be there, and then build the right culture. So we bring in and inspire the best people. If you remember like having a teacher that was like, that just really gave a fuck, that was like they made you like love what they were teaching you, and so that's our goal, is to like have the kind of people around that are so engaging, where the kids are just like opening up. And a lot of the kids that we serve, so in 1 week, in one group, we have kids that are from underserved areas. We have kids from military families that had some kind of a tragedy happen with their family. And we have kids on the spectrum. And then you have mainstream kids who sometimes have like a poverty of spirit, where they don't really know how to appreciate what they have because they've been kind of spoiled their whole life.
Yeah, I've heard you talk about poverty of spirit, and man, that's just a sad, I suppose, reality where if in so many ways, so many things like character, your immune system, like everything's a muscle that needs to be worked.
Yeah.
And I've never heard anybody else use the term poverty of spirit. But yeah, man, that's crazy. How does and when you do use that term, like you're talking about overprivileged, spoiled kids.
Well, they just don't have any perspective. They don't know how to appreciate what they've had. Everything that they ever wanted. They come home, they play their Xbox or whatever that they do all day, and everything. They don't really know. It became an awareness to me when a friend of mine had a school in Africa, and they would show these kids in Africa, and they have literally sticks and rocks to play with, but they're singing and they're dancing and they're happy and they're full of joy. And you have kids here that have everything that anyone could ever imagine, and they're just depressed and just pissed off because they don't have any perspective on, And so the goal of camp is to immerse them in a place where there's something different than they've ever been in, and they're around people who really care. And you see some of these kids, the first time they've ever, like, we teach a lot of kids to ride bikes, like the first time they've ever ridden a bike before. Wow. And kids on the spectrum as well. I mean, we everyone that's over there, everybody learns something from each other, and you get this diversity that's just like forced on you. Like, you're forced to just get to know each other, get through the obstacles of the day and the week, and then from that point on, you look at those people differently for the rest of your life. It's a pretty powerful thing.
For sure.
Yeah, it's cool. It's like, because like you don't know what you don't know, so until you're exposed to like how different people even grow up. Like, I didn't even understand how I grew up till I went to college and met other people. And it's like, oh, that's how you grew up. Or like, I didn't even know what living in America meant until I left the country and saw other countries. It's like, okay, so that's what America is. Like, now I actually know what that even is, because you have no idea. You're like kind of living in a bubble.
Yeah. I grew up in 5 different countries. I was born in England, spoke my first words in Portuguese in Brazil, went to nursery school in Caracas, Venezuela, speaking Spanish, kindergarten in Connecticut, and then the first grade through half of 4th grade in Miami. Then I moved to England halfway through 4th grade, so I was only 9.
Yeah.
Then I moved to Canada. Then I went back to England all through high school. So when I graduated high school and went to the University of Miami, I had not lived in America since I'd been 9 years old.
Yeah.
And I spoke with an American accent because I attended the American school in London.
Okay.
So like my teachers, my fellow students were mostly American speaking, but I just hadn't been in America for that whole time. And I remember going to the University of Miami straight out of high school, and I was so it was jarring. Like, I thought, oh my God, America is not a melting pot. It's a TV dinner. Like they've got just everything so separated, and I was just really it affected me, like the racism, like the aggression, like that was just how I perceived it, because what I was used to was such a multicultural upbringing.
Right.
Like my best friend when I was a kid, was a Muslim, and we'd be praying to Mecca together. Like there's just so much diversity that people are robbed of, I think, in America because they aren't introduced to other cultures a lot.
Yeah.
So I think that like what you talk about by introducing people to different walks of life, different, like more diversity, and giving them experience with all these different types of people in different situations. It resonates so much with me.
Yeah, I mean, well, you've already had. Hi, darling. You've had a lot of that diversity, you know, and getting to play music and traveling. Like I've been in the wind since I was 17. So that travel was like the greatest school that I could have ever had, because I was around all different kinds of people.
Right.
And you learn how to, and that's why we paid our dues grinding for 10 years before we even signed a record deal. So we were just hustling, playing 300 nights a year.
I know. I heard you talk about this, that before you signed a record deal, you were already selling out like 5,000 and 6,000 seat theaters.
Yeah, and we were we created our own business model where we go to a bar that didn't have live music and just say, look, we want to come play here every Tuesday.
Wow.
And we start doing that, and I'm like, so once it gets going, I just want the door. So we'd get going and we'd have 300 people on a Tuesday in a Wild Wings or something that didn't have music. So if we'd have gone and tried to get gigs at places that have live music, you know, for like $200, and we wouldn't have been able to afford to pay a guy or pay for gas to get to the next place. So we were blessed in that way. But what was beautiful about that is, you know, sometimes the people swamping the bar at the end of the night are the only people that are there listening to you. So you learn how to appreciate every person.
What do you mean by swamping the bar?
The dude just literally like cleaning the floor.
Oh, okay.
Like at the end of the bar. So, you know, I just went into Dixie Tavern in Atlanta where I used to play every week, like 2 nights a week for a decade almost, you know, and the same guys are cooking in the kitchen, and you go back in the back and see him and like give him a hug and just like, but you learn how to appreciate people. I mean, because that might be the only people that are there listening to you that night. So I love that part of the journey. There are people now that get famous so fast and they become wealthy so fast, and they're just dicks. They're dicks because they don't know, you know, they don't understand, but you know, all the beautiful people you meet along the way, everybody's equal, everybody on your crew, you know, if you're going to have a good culture, you have to lead that. You can't buy that. You have to like, so it's pretty amazing having the family of people that we have together on the road, and then just all the people that you meet, because that's really the currency, is the relationships that you have with people. I mean, it's great to have stuff, but at the end of the day, it's how you treat people that helps to like line your road on where you're going. Somebody told me when I was having my first daughter, because it's terrifying, I was like, I'm responsible for this life.
Terrifying, you know? Is the word.
Yeah. And so, and this lady told me, she said, honey, if you just teach them to be good people, then they'll be successful at whatever that they set out to do. And that took like a huge weight off of me, but it's true, because you learn how to treat people, and you learn how to be curious and how to ask for things, but how to give to people also, you know, it's like, things like that were instilled in me because of this grind that we had for so long. And I'm grateful for that. And also let us be ourselves. Like we got to figure out what we are.
Yeah.
And so we're kind of unapologetically, and I spend a lot of time working on the camp and the majority of the time being a dad. So I don't spend all the hours and trips and things like that smoozing lots of people like other artists do, you know, that don't have huge families and other commitments and things like that to be able to do. So, you know, if people wonder where I'm at or what I'm doing, it's like, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah. Yeah, let's close that door. I just feel like the rain's super. Yeah.
Moon pie eating Bruce's food.
Oh, that's what it was. Okay, sorry, brother. Thank you for that. Yeah, dude. When you go into a bar, what a brilliant business model. I want to kind of like understand that. Like you described that you know, bar restaurants are just not doing business during the week. They've got Friday and Saturday.
They lose their ass Monday through Thursday.
Yeah.
I own bars, so I know. And it's like, if you got something that generates and brings in 200 or 300 people on a Tuesday or Wednesday, that's your profit.
For sure.
Your Friday, Saturday, like make you break even from losing money through the week.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And So at that time, and what year is it when you're going into a bar, and how are you? I guess you're picking a bar that's just going off on a Friday and Saturday and saying, hey, let's make this.
Not necessarily. Somewhere where we could go in and it's like, oh, this place can hold, you know, 250 people, and they don't have any music, they don't have anything going, and so you kind of got to go talk to the manager, the owner, and just be like, hey, you know, you got to sell yourself on it. That's
Yeah.
how we started. We did that down in Panama City Beach, Florida. We left, and I sold my life insurance policy to buy like an old 70s Dodge van.
Yeah.
And
the
that, like,
bubble van.
Yeah, exactly. The bubble windows.
The bubble windows.
Orange shag. Yeah.
Is that-
Good Times van is what it was called.
Is that like the Scooby Doo?
It is kind
The
of.
mystery mobile?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, dude, that's great, man. And did you what year was that?
Let's see, 98.
Wow.
So yeah, 98. We drove down to Panama City, and we were like, we had just made our first record. It was 5 songs. I met some dude at Guitar Center that had a studio in his garage, and we bought that Good Times van, made that album, had a bunch of copies of the CDs in the truck with us, my dog, my Jack Russell, and then my drummer. So it was just 2 of us. And so
Wow.
we drove down to Panama City, and we were plugging in. We were playing at this daiquiri shack. It was like a trailer that sold daiquiris out of it. He had a extension cord to let us plug in, and we'd sit out and play. We did that for 5 or 6 nights. I ended up finding a gig down there, playing 6 nights a week, 6 hours a night for $150 a night.
Wow.
And then tip money and stuff. And then it took us, a month or so of doing that. And then we ended up meeting a guy that had a brand new condo down there. Didn't have any furniture in it, but we were, we were balling in our eyes. It was pretty
dude.
nice.
Yeah. I feel like it's so funny in those times. You're like, man, you're probably saying like, man, if we could just pay our rent with this, like, we'll be good. It's like the goal is like so small at that point, and it just grows and grows from there. And
Yeah.
it feels like that's kind of like you just continue to just level up like pretty consistently over those.
Well, yeah, but it's even crazier than that though, because for you to record that 5-song album, like didn't you have to borrow
I did.
$6,000 from a
I
buddy?
did. Yeah. And he was an alumni of my fraternity that I was in at college.
So
And now he's retired. He's a radiation oncologist, and now he's retired, and he works with us. He travels with us and is our like road doctor and crew guy. So
Wow.
the guy that loaned me the first money to make my first record, his name's Richie Bland, but we call him Doc. So Doc's like part of our crew now, and it's pretty awesome, man. The people that bet on you and that help to
dude.
like help you to succeed early on, you kind of want to be, come here, come down here, yeah, come here.
Yeah. So at that time, you borrow $6,000 to record this album, and can you even call it an album at that point? Isn't it more of a demo?
It is, and I go back and listen to it. It's pretty funny because I was in choir from like first grade through, so I was singing like more like opera choir style on this album, like trying to write folk music. But I never had a class in school ever that encouraged me to be creative. Everything was like copy what everybody else does, learning this. So there was never anything like how to write a song, how to like, create your own stories or things like that. So you do that kind of out of necessity. Your first songs are like about your first girlfriend you break up with, and you don't have any precedent, so you think you're going to die. And then your first band breaks up and you think you're going to die. It's like, you don't know that it's going to be okay, and that there's other things down the road at that time when you're young. So
That's interesting. You say you don't have any precedent, so you think you're gonna die. But like
your first heartbreak, you think about like the first
Oh, right,
heartbreak you
okay.
ever had. And so then you start writing about that. That's what I did anyway.
Yeah.
And then I realized later, like, you can write when you're feeling good about stuff too, and that's still a lot of my life is chasing a song, man. It's like trying to find
sure.
something that you want to sing about, and that you want to, and then trying to make every line in it solid, not just throw in shit that rhymes. But that's still a lot of my life is, figuring out the poetry of a song and like trying to make somebody feel something that you feel.
Yeah, of course. So it's a demo, and you record that. Then you've got that. You press 1,000 CDs.
Yeah, so we had all these boxes of CDs in the van. We tore all the orange shag carpet out and the bench seats out of the van, put gymnasium flooring in it, and my drummer's dad redid the brakes on it because it was a V8, and probably 6 out of those 8 cylinders were firing. The others
Maybe
were
4.
just dumping gas into the cabin with you. So when you're riding around,
Wow.
so it got 8 miles to the gallon or something like that. It was pretty bad. But we were all loaded up, man. Drum kit, guitar, and then my brother had loaned me some money to buy some speakers. And just playing around college when I was at West Georgia, I 6 months later, I came back and paid him back for all the, speakers and stuff that he loaned me money for. And he's like, I never expected you to pay me back. So he took me to Guitar Center and was like, you pick out any guitar that you want.
Wow.
So I picked
That's your
out-
brother?
That's my brother-in-law, David. Yeah.
Okay.
And so he's been like a dad to me since I was young. And then he later co-signed with me to get a truck and a trailer and everything so we could travel. And for 7 years, I slept against the window of a truck and we'd drive playing 6 nights a week, Georgia, Alabama, and Florida. And, just grinding, man. And I loved it. It was exciting. I didn't know where we were going. I know what we were doing, but we weren't giving up. We were just keeping going. But man, it's time on tools. So like all the hours you spend doing,
Sure.
playing 6 hours a night, you get better.
Yeah, what do they say? To be good at something, you got to spend 10,000 hours?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've probably done like, I don't know, 5,500 shows, 6,000 shows or something like that.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, wow. Did the $6,000 that you borrowed cover the recording, the studio time with the Guitar Center guy, as well as the 1,000 CDs?
Yeah. So that was kind of all in to having the CDs. And they were slinging CDs for, $5 a piece. And then tip jars, down in Panama City, they throw fucking soggy dollars or drugs or whatever into the tip jar.
Yeah. What was the cover art on the CD?
It was half my face and half his face. We were called Far From Einstein.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Wow.
And his face being your drummer?
Yeah. It was just the two of us. We just played for 6 years. It was just the two of
So
us.
you and a guitar and he's drumming.
Yeah.
When did the violin guy come into the picture?
That was a little later on. After 6 years, he decided he wanted to do something else, and he kind of quit. So I was still had house gigs around Atlanta. So I was meeting people in Atlanta. And the first guy I did my second CD with in the band was John Hopkins, who's been like huge voice, big. He's the big guy in the band. He a couple years ago was diagnosed with ALS. And so
yeah.
he's now his speech has slowed down a lot. He's still singing great, but Hop was like one of the best singers, like especially harmony singers that I've ever heard ever. And he had a studio in Atlanta, so we were going, and I was working on the studio, like piecemealing it. I was like hustling, trying to get it done. I was selling unfinished mixes of the songs to make money to finish paying for the record. So, and I hired a dude. I met a dude down on Cumberland Island in Georgia and hired him to live in my house. And all day long, this is back before you had like multi-CD burner stuff. So he was one CD at a time, put in the computer, burning a CD, writing my phone number on it and my name on it. And so I'd take a stack of those, and that's how I like helped to pay for the rest of that album. But so I was playing at Dixie Tavern, and I realized that my bass player at the time was selling blow. And because all these guys kept coming up going, hey, man, let me holler at your boy. And I'm like, why do you need to holler at him or whatever? And found out, and he could play super fast, and he was always kind of like, whatever. He's like, so I found out he was doing that, and I was like, okay, I got to let him go. And then I went to the studio and was working with John, and John was like, well, I could play a little bass. I can sit in, So in February, he'll have been sitting in for 20 years.
Wow.
Amazing.
Yeah.
The trip to Panama City, at that point, you said that you sold and your dad gave you an insurance policy and you sold it for $12,000.
$1,200. $1,200, yeah.
Wow, $1,200. Okay, how do you sell an insurance policy that somebody?
Well, it's whatever type of life insurance that was, like you can either let that grow and keep it going, or it has a value. Like how much you invested in it, you can sell it. So
when you sell a life insurance policy, is that like renaming the beneficiary? So
we're
whoever
just cashing it in.
Yeah, you're just cashing out like early, basically.
Yeah.
So you have no more life insurance policy. You basically signed your life away.
I just sold it. So my dad had put this thing up, and I told him that I needed some money to get a vehicle or whatever, and he's like, "Well, I got this life insurance policy or whatever." So gave me $1,200. I went to the used car lot in Carrollton, bought the Good Times van. I still have it.
I am a big fan of investing in RVs. It's always worked well for me. But I think I'm a bigger fan of investing in mental health. And that's why I'm glad that this episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. It's the biggest online matchmaker for people and therapists. It doesn't involve going to a therapist's office. You don't even have to leave the house. You can do it from the comfort of your own home online. Very easy, very simple, and a very good way to find peace of mind, tranquility, and serenity this holiday season. Plus, if you go to betterhelp.com/Stevo, that's betterhelp.com/Stevo, then you get 10% off your first month. You can't go wrong. And therapy really is the way to just get comfortable with what's going on in your life. I'm a huge fan of investing in mental health through betterhelp.com/Stevo. So jump on that, betterhelp.com/Stevo for 10% off your first month. And here's to a more comfortable, happier, healthier you in the new year. Now let's get back to it. So
Wow, yeah.
the Good Times van was $1,200.
$1,200.
God,
And
that
it ran like shit, and the brakes were shot. But it was a big deal for us at the time, man.
Sure.
What was like the vision then? Or was there one? Or was it like, let's just play music? Like,
Well,
was
we were
there
gonna
like,
take our new CD and go. We were gonna be big like the next year. We were like, we're gonna go whatever.
you're like, any minute
And
now,
then
we're just going to pop.
and then 10 years later, it took 10 years.
Sure.
Yeah, Far From Einstein.
Yeah.
Were there any other names for acts in between Far From Einstein and the Zach Brown Band?
No, and the reason that we had to call it Zach Brown Band at the time was because this was back when MySpace was happening. And so on MySpace, there was another guy named Zach Brown, spelled the same way as me, Z-A-C, the way mine was. So to have like a different profile, we had to call it Zach Brown Band. And that's just what stuck. But no, we never had any other band names. The first band was Far From Einstein, and it was like 5 or 6 of us, and that band broke up, and that was devastating because I thought that was going to be the thing.
I think it's a great name
And
for
it
a
ended up
band,
just
dude.
being me and the drummer. It's spelled E-I. That's it right there.
Okay.
Einstein. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's
me on the left
fantastic.
there.
And you played in Panama City at Club La Vila.
We played there later on, but we played at this club called Joey's.
Okay.
And it was just like a restaurant with like a piercing shop and a tattoo shop and a t-shirt shop. And
Dude, Panama
it was
City.
run, I'm pretty sure it was Israeli mob guys. They were all like Lexuses and hair slicked back and like, Chanel, but they were really good to us. And, we played the first 10 nights in a row. We did 6 hours a night. It was $150 a night. And it's from 8 till 2 in the morning. And we played outside on a deck and sweating our balls off.
Damn.
And Panama City is like that. When you said the bar restaurant model that Friday and Saturday pays for breaking even over the week, isn't with Panama City like they lose money all year long and then spring break is what?
Yeah, summertime and spring break is slamming, and it's changed now. It's all high rise and crazy, but back then it was pretty loose, man. The Majestic Hotel was right down the road from where we were. It was like.
I wonder what's the hotel that they've got the captain's quarters.
Oh yeah.
Have you been there?
Yeah.
They put you up in the captain's quarters.
Yep. We've been there. After doing the daiquiri shack for a while, there were these ladies swimming out in the ocean. Me and my drummer were camped out on the back of this porch that was wrecked by a hurricane. So we were right on the beach, and then the Sunglow Motel was across the street, and we'd go use their pool shower to take a cold shower.
Amazing.
With my dog, but we slept on the back of this porch for the first couple weeks we were there, and just out of the van. And we ended up, these ladies were swimming out in the ocean. I went and started talking to them, and they were like, well, our mom lives right down here, and had this huge house on Roberts Drive, like down from La Vila. And they had a garage with a bedroom and a bathroom in it. So me and my drummer slept in that same bed for like 3 months, just 2 of us, but we had a nice place right on the water. It was Muriel and JB Ellis were their names, and they would like go out into town. They were in their 70s, late 70s, and they were out shag dancing every night and drinking. Every cabinet in the house was full of liquor, like 80 bottles of McCormick vodka in one cabinet, and so their house was just like a commune, like people coming and going and drinking or whatever, and we're sleeping out in the garage. And so we had a way better place there, and then it later on ended up getting a condo that was in town. But You know, it's been a blessed journey, man. I wouldn't want to have to make all those things. I'm sure as your life has unfolded, all the shit you've done, it's like you don't know how it all worked out, but it did, and you're glad you don't have to navigate it all again.
There was I think it was a cartoon, Mr. Magoo. Like and you know, it was this guy. He had these like Coke bottle glasses or something, or no glasses. You just couldn't see. And he like at the beginning of the show, it was like he's walking by and like every step he takes is certain doom. You know, like he steps off a building, but then like a construction beam comes to meet his foot. You know, and he doesn't. He doesn't even realize that he's, you know, every step is certain death, and he just barely like had, you know. I've always felt like that was.
I can relate to that too.
Kind of my deal, and I relate to like you were talking about the one CD burner. I was even before that with my stunts recording onto video cassette tapes.
Yeah.
And I had one like VCR video cassette recorder where I would hit play and I'd just record like the good stunt, you know, the good trick where I made it. And then that was just that was my editing. It was a series of play, record, play, record, play, record. And then once I had the tape, the edit, then I'd put that in the first VCR and play the whole thing edited, but wire an audio cable from like a stereo to lay music over it while I'm duplicating it.
Yeah.
And it was just like an assembly line, like just duplicate tapes, and I just have a pile of video cassette tapes, and then I'd write my phone number on there. It would say Steve-O, stunts and party tricks, and then I would like walk to the post office with video cassette tapes and put them in envelopes and mail them to like whoever I thought might watch them.
Yeah.
You know, at the time it was like skateboard industry stuff, you know, and I had this feeling, man, I didn't think I would become successful, like make money. I thought I was going to die just having miserably failed. And what kept me going was the idea that after my inevitable early death, that those videotapes, man, someone's gonna watch them, and I'm gonna still be alive. It was like that was my immortality, man.
Yeah.
You know, so there's a lot that I relate to, and I've heard you talk about persistence. You know, persistence being the most important thing.
Yeah.
I would say that equally important, maybe. To me, more important, enthusiasm.
Yeah.
You know, like
that's what drives you. You gotta have something that makes you want to hustle and makes you want to go. But I've worked with a lot of people. I when we started going, even before when we first took off and had our first couple #1 songs, I was like, I'm gonna have a record label. I'm gonna help other people to do this and do whatever. And it doesn't matter how talented someone is, if they don't have determination and grit and enthusiasm and persistence, they're not going to make it. Talent comes pretty cheap. It's the people that are tough enough to just keep. But like you were making all this shit, putting it out into the world. You were manifesting where you were headed and where you were going. But that hustle is rare. Hustle is way more rare than talent.
Yeah, I've heard you say that you find talented people everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, they're not particularly rare. And yeah, dude, just to be a persistent son of a bitch, man. That's one thing.
And not let anybody tell you where you're going. It's like, because a lot of people that want to tell you can't do something, they hadn't done shit.
Sure.
Right? They're the ones that are the critics. They're
the ones that are bashing your album.
Exactly, they are every time. Every time.
Was there one particularly scathing review of an album that? Because I heard you talk about that too.
Yeah, I mean, almost every time that Rolling Stone would come out and something or whatever, it was kind of like some underhanded little kitsch comment from some dude with a failed band that wants to just come out and then so over time, I was just like, fuck them. Like I'm just not. We know you have to know your own value, right? And you have to be in an environment where you feel your value or you create it. And so over the years, I remember Sidelines, one of the places we played, when we left there, we played there every Wednesday for a few years, and we made this dude so much money. And when it was time for us to leave and like graduate and go to the next things, I saved the video or the audio message the guy left me, and the last thing he said was, "After all I've done for you, and you're leaving now, I hope you fail." That was the last message, and I saved it, and I'm like, that's okay.
And Sidelines is one of the spots that you said, I just want the door. I'll play on a Tuesday.
We had 300 people there every Wednesday. It was in Kennesaw,
Dude, that's fantastic, man.
Yeah.
And speaking of that too, this is so crazy, man. The guy who hasn't done anything, who's super critical and gives the scathing review. You know, like in the news right now, this the guy who shot the United Healthcare CEO. Yesterday, my phone is blowing up with messages saying, "Dude, this shooter guy read your books." Right? Like I'm like, wait, what? And sure enough, there's like it's in the news that this guy read not one but 2 Steve-O books. Left a review on my most recent Steve-O book. It's called A Hard Kick in the Nuts. And this would be great. I'm getting ready to call TMZ and be like, hey, whatever. And then I read the review. And the bastard like was bagging on my second book, saying that it wasn't very engaging. I'm like, dude, everybody's hitting me up. They're like, hey, did you see this guy reviewed your book? And I'm writing back, yeah, it would be great if the review itself wasn't a hard kick in the nuts. I want to shoot that guy.
Yeah, but you could go out and say, like, look, if you're not a murderer, you might enjoy the book.
Right. I mean, it's so funny, dude. It's like, here, the only thing that the guy likes less than my last book is his health care.
Yeah, maybe you were next on the list.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, it's like what Happy Gilmore, where the guy's like crossing people off his list.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was picturing too.
But it really, I mean, I only bring that up because it just goes to show, like, here by definition, you've got like disgruntled, and like this guy, like his answer is, you're unhappy about something, go shoot the guy, like you're negative, you're critical, you're disgruntled, and no wonder he wrote a crappy review, because that book, I know its value.
Exactly.
There's something about value that can go up and it can go down. And when I take a Blue Chew tablet, the value of my performance in the bedroom, it goes up. And I'll just come out and say it. I'm at an age where I'm pretty happy to accept the help from Blue Chew tablets. They help me perform better in the bedroom. They help me get hard as a rock. They help me have a really good time. So maybe you've been thinking, it's probably time for me to try Blue Chew tablets. I think you're right. And you can get an entire month's supply totally for free. All you pay is $5 for shipping if you go to bluechew.com and use the promo code STEVO. This could be your entry to a higher value performance in the bedroom, to having more fun with your boner. I mean, let's do this. Go to bluechew.com and use the promo code STEVO to get an entire month's supply of Blue Chew tablets completely for free. All you pay is $5 for shipping. So jump on that and let's ride this baby home.
Yeah.
I know that book is awesome.
Well, it's all a test, right? So you're going through life, you have something you believe in, and there's 100 people that are just like, that's total shit. And back then, it kind of was, but if you're working on it and getting better over time, then like you kind of know where you're going. But you have to have an identity. You have to have a resilience about you to be able to succeed, because you have to be willing to fail. And that's why I've got Teddy Roosevelt tattooed on my arm right there.
Yeah.
And that's the man in the arena. That's the speech. And I go back to that and I read that speech that he wrote whenever some failed band writer slams my album, just as a reminder, like you're not doing shit if you're not failing, I mean, I've watched you fail a lot of times on camera.
Right.
That's like been a lot of my, youth growing up watching you. And so it's pretty awesome to get to visit and see, but you share that same hustle, and then like enthusiasm's a good word for it too.
Dude, you know that when you break down the word enthusiasm to its roots in like Latin or whatever it comes from, it breaks down en theos, which means with God.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's like the implicit message is that when you're really passionate about something, when you're pursuing your passion, that you're like most connected with God, like doing God's work.
Wow.
Yeah.
I felt that. I'm not a religious person. I grew up in super religious environments, but I'm a spiritual person. And I'm glad that I did, because I kind of come around to your own faith and your own belief. And for me, it's like when you get into specifics and telling people if you don't specifically do this or that, you're going whatever, fuck all that. Because it's really about love and how well that we
For sure.
take care of each other. And I mean, and when you get into those specifics, you're getting away from God. You're getting away from the love and the acceptance of what it is,
What a wonderful way that you put that. I would take a much more, I don't know, like negative stance, I think. Like, going back to my buddy, I've known this guy since I was 9 years old, Abdullah. The guy is Muslim families from Sudan. We used to pray to Mecca together, like lived in this super like diverse, upbringing. And I'm still in touch with Abdullah, today. I mean, he's the one person who I've known for the longest, since we were 9, now we're 50.
Yeah.
And, we graduated from high school together in England. He went to Brown University 4.0, went to Cornell Medical School, then became a pediatric surgeon at the Mayo Clinic, where he literally invented ways of operating on unborn babies in the womb before they're born. Wow. And saving lives of these unborn babies. Like he could not be a more wonderful person. And when anybody suggests to me that my dear friend Abdullah is going to go to hell because of the particular thing, the little box that he doesn't check. My position is that if heaven's all it's cracked up to be, hey, I'd love to check it out, but I'm not going without everybody who I love. And based on the beliefs of these particular things that you're talking about, like, you know what, like, looks like I'm going to hell because I can't check that box, because the only way that I'm going is with everybody.
Well, there's different ways to think about it, and if you think about it as it being here on Earth, then your reality, whatever it is, if you believe that it's the end of the world and everything's falling apart or whatever, that becomes your reality. And if you believe that there's an awakening and that there's goodness and there's love and like in your tribe, and that's why when you're dialed into like all the news and all the manipulation and everything, you're like sipping on poison every day. So I don't listen to any of that shit. I just, if something's going on, somebody will tell me, like, oh, they found the guy yesterday.
Yeah.
But I'm not receiving all of this stuff, because we're tribal people. Like we weren't supposed to hear voices beyond earshot. Like if someone wasn't like on the hill where you could hear them yelling, like you're not really supposed to hear them. So our physiology is like 200,000 years old. We're still the same, like physically, that we were then. And now we're dealing with all of this technology and all the opinions and all the stuff. And a lot of times the people that have the microphone and the opinion are the people that you would never want to fucking hang out with in the first place. So it's like, it's an interesting thing that we're having to like deal with right now. It's weird. The internet just fucking, I know. It's a crazy thing.
And like our brains just can't even process all this. Like we're taking, on a day, we're taking in more information than like 200,000 years ago you got in multiple generations of lives.
Exactly.
And so like our brains are just, but
if you just like look outside in your neighborhood and go outside, and like if you're not paying attention to that and feeding into it, then it's a good life. So whatever you believe in, it becomes your reality. Like whatever.
Yeah. There's something interesting you said early on in the conversation about the kids in Africa having sticks and rocks to play with. You said about becoming a parent, having this responsibility, and it's terrifying. I was talking with Abdullah. We were playing a game of pool, and it was like, I don't know, a little over 10 years ago now. And I said, Abdullah, I don't want to have kids. I don't want to have kids. Like the opportunity in the world is dwindling. The American dream's dying. It's like I don't want to create a person who's going to struggle. And Abdullah looked at me and said, do you think in Africa, with all of the poverty, the famine, the disease, that people are any less happy? you know. And my initial
They're
reaction,
more happy. It's crazy.
yeah, my initial reaction is to think, well, what? Yeah, he says no. And what it is it's the capacity to love. You can take from somebody all of their resources. You can take all their money. You can even take their health. But you cannot strip a person of their capacity to love another.
Yeah. Wow.
And it's from that which happiness is derived.
Well, and all those other things distract from it.
Yeah.
Right? Like all the resource, all the things you have to take care of. You know, they say the more you own, the closer you are to Rome, which means the more you are a slave to the shit that you own.
Yeah.
And then you're distracted from the connection and the love and the things like that.
It's like the more money you earn, it doesn't fulfill anything. It actually creates a vacuum, I've heard.
It does. And it's a tool, you know, you can't be a slave to that either. You know, like I've gotten by on a piece of toast and ramen noodles and natural light, and I know what that's like, and I was happy.
Yeah, but and when you were eating that, then you got the case of Doritos.
That's right. Yeah, the case of Doritos was like a major score.
A major upgrade.
Yeah, it was.
Now, you know, and all the work paid off. The $6,000 that your frat brother guy let you borrow, he got paid back from the restaurant money.
I paid him back 6 months later on the dot. I showed up with $100 bills, paid him back. He later gave me money to make another album. Took me a little longer to pay him back for that one, but just when
this
you
was
see
from the restaurant model.
Yeah, and when you see the difference it makes when you just tell a young person, hey, you're really good at that. You should keep going. You should keep going. Like just one comment can like change the trajectory of somebody's life. And then somebody that's like, but you have to be willing to ask for help. You know, you have to be willing. I had to be willing to ask him to help me pay for the CD and to pay for the speakers and to pay for things to get going. But I spend the rest of my life now taking care of him, you know, and so it's, we take care of each other. I mean, he still provides amazing service for us on the road, but
this is the doctor guy.
Yeah, doc. And so, but people that believe in you early on and people just putting good out into the world, man, I think that's really what it's about, because when you boil it all down, like real joy comes from helping other people. It doesn't come from serving yourself and having a bunch of shit and living in a big fancy house and whatever. You're just there alone and just a rich dick, right? So you want to, the more you can give and the more you realize like it's an unnatural act for us as humans to be a servant to other people. Like you literally have to put the effort into doing that. But the more you do that, the better your life becomes.
Yeah, man. My understanding of it is the human experience, this whole like physical realm, it's an illusion.
Yeah.
And the separation between us is an illusion. And when we die, we realize, oh my God, that wasn't it. And we're all one thing. And like, I'm super into videos of people describing near-death experiences where they actually die and they have their life review, and they feel like in their life review, you experience everything that you made other people feel. You experience it as those people.
Yeah.
Like, so when you were a dick to somebody, like you're going to feel what you made, and when you did spread joy, and when you did you know, like make somebody, you're gonna feel that joy. And man, like I think about that a lot, and I really want to like be deliberate and be careful about how I interact with people, like selfishly, so that I can like kind of over like you know, like balance the scales of all the bad feelings.
Well, that's
a
great motivator too, and you know that's another thing for religion too. I think if the overall impact of it makes people want to be better, want to have community, want to treat people better, and all of that, then great.
Exactly.
I support whatever that is, whatever builds that like community and connection with people and things like that. But as you get to be older and you travel a lot and you're around a lot of things, there's wisdom in a lot of different religions. There's wisdom in a lot of different things. And the ones that tell you have to isolate, you're not allowed to learn anything else, like this is it. You can't, whatever. It's like, I kind of call horse shit on that, you know, but you know, and I'm not saying it's a wrong for anyone else to do that, whatever people feel convicted by and being able to do it, just for me personally. And I tell my kids that, like, you have to figure out what you believe.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you, this is how to believe, how to do things. Like, you know, you and you know, they grew up in a more Christian. Their mom's very Christian, and I grew up that way as well. And I think that a lot of the good things that instills is something that you can take with you and being able to do it. And over time, you kind of look behind the curtain and you're like, wait a minute, some of those people are super, you know, they're kind of fucked up too, you know. And in the name of being righteous and self-righteous and things like that, sometimes that's a big turnoff. But I'm grateful, and it gave me my path to having faith. So I'm grateful for that.
I think all the major religions, they're so similar, man. They're saying the same things.
Yeah.
And I would go so far as to suggest that the differences between all of these major religions are like attributed to human error. You know, when you've got thousands of years or all these centuries of number one, the original scripts written in Aramaic and like all that, you know, like a lot.
They've been bastardized.
Yeah, a lot got lost in translation.
Centuries. Well, they manipulated. It was governance.
For sure.
It was
for
governance.
sure.
Because all it took was one guy at one time to just be like, let's
the king,
take that
let's
out. And
The
it's like
Nicene
forever now.
Council. Like,
and let's take all these books out because this talks about other stuff that like
Right.
the rest of the life, you know, I don't know.
I'm with that,
But if
man.
Jesus married Mary Magdalene and had a bunch of kids and stuff, they say there's books in gospel that tells that story. Well, they don't want people knowing that because then that instills more of the humanity side of someone that was so. But
fear is so much more profitable. Fear.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's either, you know, it either boils down to two things. It's either love or it's fear. There's
Big
two
time.
two things.
Big
and
time.
so
Man, I love that, dude. I love that so much. But before we let you go, man, I'm dying to ask you about life today. Now that you're like, you know, and thank you for inviting me to
Anytime,
your show.
anytime.
It was I think you were playing the Staples Center, which is now the Crypto.com arena.
Yeah.
And, I got the invite, like, hey, Zach wants you to come to his show at the arena. I was like, for some reason I couldn't make it, but I was like, man, what a cool bro.
yeah,
Really
well, I'd love
appreciate
to have
that.
you guys, man. We'll be touring in the spring, and
Dude, I love it.
However we can.
Sick.
Would love to have y'all see what we do because our band's like really hard to understand. I mean, same thing with like if somebody describes Jackass to you, you kind of need to watch it to kind of understand the level of what it is, and so.
It occurs to me that at the intro of I said the king of country music, but now I'm like, like your whole purpose is almost to defy genres. So why did I try to jam you into that box
that's
right
all
out of
right.
the gate?
That's all right. I appreciate it. We just individuals. You have to fight really hard to keep your individuality because I had
Sure.
record deal offers early on when I was playing bars. They were coming. They're like, okay, we're gonna get you a boot, some boots,
And they tried to give you
hat.
a cowboy hat.
And I was like, that ain't me, dude. So I'm from Atlanta. You know, I'm not a cowboy, so I don't want to act like one. You know,
Yeah.
I just want to be able to be myself, and it takes a lot of courage to be able to do that. It takes, and that's one thing working at camp and going to camp. Like, if you go to a public school and you get up and start singing or something in front of kids, they're just gonna slay you, dude. They're gonna murder you. And so, but if you do it in an environment like a camp where the first time you get to be silly and goofy and like do a skit or do whatever, you're like celebrated in doing it. Like that creates this like celebration of your individuality, like where you get to show who you are and whatever.
Right.
And I think camp was responsible for me just being courageous enough to just be able to be myself. And then over time, you build up enough fans where no one can take that away from you. Like I've played in a room with all of those people over, 20 years and earned those people. So that's really the only people that I owe something to are the fans. I don't owe it to the institution, to the machine that creates other artists, to the machine that does other things.
But one thing I'm super fascinated by is it before every single show that you have a formal rehearsal on your tour bus for an entire hour?
Yeah. So I do my vocal warm-ups for 30 minutes and then I rehearse with the band for an hour and then we play a 3-hour show.
Wow.
And that happens every day that we're on the road when we're doing our normal
And it
shows.
happens on the bus.
Yeah. A whole band comes on my bus. We all sing. We talk about the clams from the night before or how everybody fucked up or whoever did and figure out our set list. And
What do you mean
figure
the
out-
clams from the
Clams when somebody fucks up.
Okay.
And you can hear it. And James Brown used to do it. If you watch a James Brown concert and he says, gotcha, he caught one of his band members making a mistake and he docked him $50.
Wow.
So he was a perfectionist. Like James Brown was absolutely, and he could tell when his band was like one dude was out of line, and if you heard him say "gotcha" in a show, that's $50 off one of the band's
Wow.
paychecks.
Yeah, dude, I love it, man. I said there was one. I think it was like you did a profile on CBS, and you invited the crew onto the bus for the rehearsal.
Yeah.
And they said in there that this isn't like very rare that you would let like a camera crew, but to look at that and all you guys.
Yeah, if you guys come to a show, man, come sit in vocal warm ups. It's fun. Some people say that's better than the show because we're just all sitting there acoustically in a room, just our voices and instruments, and it's good bonding time with everybody too. That's something I look forward to because we don't hang out with the band a lot when we're home because we all have families. I think there's 25 kids in the band now.
Wow.
26 now. Caroline just had a baby, so it's
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's smart though, because like you walk on stage, like this is like almost like your second set of the night. Like that second set is always like a little tighter,
you're warmed
a little
up and
looser,
ready, and you know what you're doing, and it's just discipline, man. I've been sober for 7 years now.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, and just the taking care of yourself, taking care of your voice is like taking care of a baby. Like you have to hydrate all day, you have to take a nap, you have to get up, you have to exercise to wake your voice up, you have to steam shower, you have to do your warm-ups, you have to and you're drinking a couple gallons of water that day of the show, and it's like, if you want your voice to hold up and you sing for 4 hours a night, that's what you have to do. So you just have to get in a groove, man. You got to do, and it's just like showing up anything. You show up early for shit because on time's almost late. You tell the truth when you get there. You do the shit that you're supposed to do. You follow through, and that's just part of like being a man. And it takes a while. I remember I was probably 23 or 24 when I had a code where I was like, this is the way that I'm going to live. And then your life becomes a lot easier because you don't do anyone wrong. You don't have anything because if you make shitty decisions, your life's going to be hard. And life's hard anyway. So and I tell my kids that, like, you don't make this decision because I'm asking you to. Make it because it's the right thing and it's going to make your life easier. So what can we do now? And, after 40, your warranty runs out. So you better start investing into feeling good.
Yeah,
man.
right? Oh, man. Yeah. That's a good one. Your warranty runs out after 40.
Steve, what are your vocal warm-ups that you've done?
Yeah, dude.
Cough some dog hair out of your throat.
What, you are super into... fitness, health, like the diet. Like, what's this company that is it? Biltong?
Biltong. Yeah. So it's just like a healthier jerky. So we just launched a Biltong brand. It's South African beef jerky is where it comes from, but it's just dehydrated instead of smoked. But it's easy to eat and it's good. We just launched our brand, the
Biltong.
ZBB, Zach Brown Biltong. And we're just doing it direct right now, just getting going on that. But I eat a lot of protein. I've got an incredible nutritionist that I work with. She was like an Olympic gold medalist, and her husband's my trainer. So a friend of mine got me with this guy, and I just had back surgery like 4 months ago. I just had a laminectomy, like back half of my vertebrae are gone. They just cut it off of my bottom 3 vertebrae.
What was the cause of that?
I had 3 herniated discs from playing football for 11 years and doing judo in college. And so that I had bad discs. So I had bone fragments and junk and trash and stuff. So it's like the jelly between your discs is like smushed out like a jelly donut. And then there's pieces of bone and trash in there. So that was all on my nerves in my back so I had sciatica going down my legs. So fought that this whole tour and then got done and had to get a surgery and just get that fixed. Went to Mayo. If you got to get cut on, that's where I'm going. That place is unbelievable. I mean, it's unbelievable. But now I feel great. I'm back to training again and I'm back to 100%. And I don't have any pain. As a kid, I had like a narrow spinal canal. I didn't know that. So I grew up that way. So as a kid, I'd sit on the floor. My feet fell asleep within like 20 seconds. My whole life. So and that doesn't happen now. So which is kind of cool. But he's my trainer. Luke is unbelievable, man. He's like NFL strength training coach for like 18 years, but he teaches you how to not get hurt. So everything's soft tissue, flexibility, mobility, and then his wife is the nutritionist. So I just eat what she says and I do the workouts he sends me, and I've never felt better, man. I feel great.
Wow. 4 months off of surgery like that, it sounds pretty good to be like
Yeah, no,
moving
I'm
the way you are.
full training again, so
Crazy.
it feels great.
And what does
man.
training look like?
It's usually about an hour a day. It's a lot of like rolling on foam rollers, balls that like you lay on in your armpits and lats and things that vibrate that like help to keep your soft tissue happy where you have knots basically. Just like doing a self massage every day for like 30 minutes, you're rolling all your body weight on top of all your knots and like calming everything, your soft tissue down. And then your mobility, like flexibility, just getting your range of motion and everything. Because the older you get, the more like hunched over you get, the more your arms get like this. And you're like, so opening everything up where it's, all your joints move and beyond where they kind of want to, so that you don't get hurt and getting all your core muscles strong. And so it's just like an hour a day. You just got to invest, man, because you can either suffer a little bit every day doing that, or you can suffer feeling like shit all the time. So but having people you can trust is major difference. I trust them. So I just been doing what they say. And I think the first month that I did it, I lost 24 pounds in the first month.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you're 46, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel better now than I've ever felt. I feel great.
I think I'm there, man. I was getting ready to turn 50, and I was like, man, screw this. I'm going to get in the best shape ever.
Yeah.
Celebrated my 50th birthday running a triathlon. And
oh, amazing.
I'm like kind of a psycho,
Yeah.
with the yoga in the morning. And,
Same thing. Yoga's very similar to a lot of the work that he does.
Yeah.
Just making everything move and keeping the old man out.
It's crazy how, like, just walking is so good for you.
Yeah.
We're on tour. I've got this app called All Trails, and we'll find scenic hikes and stuff to go on.
Yeah, it's a great app. Yeah.
And we've had the whole crew go on hikes every day on tour, and like at the end of a leg of tour, we weigh less, we're healthier than that's pretty rare.
And we carry a trailer, a semi trailer that's a gym, and we have that for our crew and band, so they can come out and invest in proactively feeling good.
Yeah, dude. How many buses, how many trucks involved in the Zach?
General shows are probably 11 or 12 buses and probably 14 semis, something like that. So it's a circus,
Yeah.
And it takes them from about 6:30 in the morning until 2 in the afternoon to set it up. We finish playing at like 11, and then in 2 hours everything's packed up. But we have probably 115 people on the road that travel with us, and then we have about 80 to 100 local hands, that union people that show up to help to unload everything and load it up.
Amazing. Is it true that you've the longest break that you took from touring was like 60 days? I mean, presumably after back surgery,
until
more than that.
COVID, for sure. Like 60 days is a long time. I mean, we've been grinding. I mean, I come home every week because I don't want to be away from my kids. There's one time when one of my daughters was 2 years old, and we had a travel hitch, and I didn't get home till the next day. But that's the only birthday I've ever missed. I never missed a holiday. I never missed birthdays. I make sure that I'm home. Like, being a dad is first. That's above everything. And then the whole schedule has to work around that. And it's not efficient, like resource wise, because if you could just go out and tour and do like 60 shows and then come home, but I don't want to be away from my kids that long. They're in school. And so, I always thought I'd have a family that like grew up on the road and like homeschool and roll around, but that didn't end up happening. And they turned out amazing. I've got amazing little people, but being present in their lives, the same thing. Like, you got to be there. You got to be there to see what's happening. And if you're not, then you don't get the result necessarily, or give them the things that they need to be able to do it. So,
will you send like the 15 semis, 11 buses, like let them be kind of cruising on a path, and you'll dip out on your plane?
Yeah.
And
I'll fly in and meet up with them, unless it's within a night's drive home.
Yeah.
Fly out, meet up with the buses, play a show, sleep on the bus, ride to the next one, do it again, do that 3 times, and at the 3 or 4, and then at the end of that show, fly home. And the plane, I never thought I'd have a plane, because I remember hearing about it, and I'm like, it costs what to do? But the only thing that you can't get more of is time.
Yeah.
And so it's we just budget that into it so that we can get back to the things that matter, get back to the kids. It's like,
And I heard you talking about your plane. That everything on the plane is you got a leather crafter guy.
Yeah, he actually works in this building right here behind the hangar here at the house.
So inside the plane is just like art, like carved
Everything's
leather.
handmade. Yeah, the chairs are all handmade. The walls, the ceiling, everything.
Wow.
It's really unique. And I'm actually gonna be selling that plane this year. It's so sick. Like I've never seen anything like it. But I need more range because we're gonna be touring in Europe a lot more. So
You need
being
more,
able,
more range. So
more
you got to be
range.
able to go across the Atlantic Ocean.
yeah, we get about 9 hours of flight time in my plane, but you got to have an hour and a half reserved. So it's really 7.5, and then so that's great for the States. But going other places, the fewer stops you have, that buys time also. So it'll save like 3 or 4 hours going to Europe and places like that. So we're in the middle of I'm going to sell my plane, which is just kind of like my baby because we put so much love into it. But until we get to the point, I'll always play, like always. Like I'll be like Willie, and I'll be out there playing shows until I can't sing anymore or play anymore. So, for me, those things are, people can always shoot it down and talk about fuel and things like that, but you got to get back to the things that matter.
Oh wait, they can shoot it down and say whether because
Well,
you're
people
flying
talk like you're flying on a plane, you're like burning fuel and environment and everything like that. But you got to get to where you need to go, and it buys you time, and those hours are precious. And your kids, as you see, I've got one that's about to go to college, and it's like you blink and they're grown, and
Yeah.
so you don't want to miss out. I miss out on a lot. Just it's monopolizing doing what we do. People think it's just you get up and do a show and leave, but you're monopolized for days and days on the road traveling and being there all day and in it. And I'm not complaining because it's the life that I chose and it's a beautiful life, but it comes along with its own challenges like everything.
Dude, I'm acutely aware, and for me to have my guys, my crew, and how much sacrifice it is for
them too.
For them to just drop everything up and got no life for the next 3 weeks. We're on a run.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
but it's the greatest, man. Having your people that you want to be around, that you choose, and then that they got your back and they're putting out all the fires so you can be doing what's the best use of your time.
We have a pretty good time, man. The energy on my crew is epic.
Yeah, we make the most of it. We have a great time.
Yeah.
That's the sugar.
So you got a big show coming up for New Year's.
Yeah, New Year's
the
Eve.
State Farm Arena.
State Farm, yeah.
And that's that's in Atlanta.
That's in Atlanta, yeah. That's where the Hawks play.
Yeah.
We haven't played there in a long time. It used to be Phillips Arena a long time ago. We haven't played. We do a hometown show every couple of years or something like that. But our biggest markets are like up in the Northeast.
Okay.
So
yeah, of course, Fenway Park. You got the record.
Yeah.
What is it? The most consecutive sold out shows at Fenway Park.
Yeah. We've done 3 in a row. 3 sold out shows in a row there. But Boston's incredible to us, man. It's
I mean, dude, what a distinction. I mean, you think about that, like that's a stadium. It's a baseball stadium.
I like baseball stadiums better because they sound better. Football stadiums are like a big bowl, and the sound is awful. It washes around. I like them, but you have to set up 3 sound systems. Like you have to have 3 sets of arrays going out there. A lot of people don't invest in the right sound for them. So somebody that's way in the back in the nosebleeds is going to hear, all the wash of the bass and everything like that. So, but the baseball stadiums feel intimate, but they're big. You fit like 44,000 or something in there, but it still feels like and it sounds good.
They're almost built like an amphitheater too, just by the nature of the design of the field.
It's being right at home.
Wow,
plate.
I never
Whereas
thought about
you
that.
play in an end zone at a football stadium, and it's just this long bowl.
Yeah,
it's all shaped like a bowl, and
Sure.
It's. I don't mind playing football stadiums. I'm not saying that I do, but you have to set up the sound the right way so that the fan experience is good. Because you want to sound good, you want them to be able to hear what you're saying when you're talking.
Well, I think that the consensus is that your live show is undeniably as good as a concert's ever gonna get. Like,
oh, thank you.
I'm
Man.
I'm
And
honored.
that's a testament to my band, man. I got incredible people in my band. If you're doing it right, you're the worst guy in the band. You have the right people around you that are so incredible. So we're blessed, and our crew is amazing. We have a real blessed journey. Next year's a really big year. We're gonna have some announcements this year. We're doing some the biggest thing we've ever done next year. So we're going to announce that, probably around after springtime, doing a spring tour coming up. And we'll be done touring in May because of what we're announcing that's happening in December, but it's going to be pretty epic.
Dude,
So,
right on, man.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
Well, dude, we kept you 20 minutes later than we
That's
were
fine.
supposed
No
to.
worries. No worries.
It's dude, it's an honor, man. Thank you so much
Likewise,
for
man.
this.
It's an honor to hang with you. Thank you,
Yeah.
brother. Thanks for coming. And y'all need to come to a show, man. Bring this
Yeah,
bring
dude.
this to the show.
We need to.
Dude,
We'd love for y'all
would
to.
absolutely love to,
Yeah.
man. I would absolutely love to. And I just want to say it again, man, that the way that you care about helping people with special needs is really, really near and dear to me. And the way that you promote love and equality and it's a big deal, man. You use your platform in a very responsible and admirable way.
Thank you.
And I would go as far as to say that you have a platform because of that.
I
you know?
agree. I agree. Yeah, but I think I was giving my music to help to do those things. I think it all goes together. So when you're here following orders and following signs and listening and doing things, and so I know you do a lot of good as well. So that's very, very appreciated from you, man. Thank you.
Well, hell yeah, brother. Right on,
Yeah.
man. Well, let's get on with your day, but thank you again.
Absolutely.
This was sick. Thanks,
Yeah.
man. Appreciate it.
No problem.
And there you have it, folks. Zach Brown is an official American badass and just a genuinely good guy. He walks the walk, man. He doesn't just say that he's all about helping people doing the right thing. He does it, man. It's very evident. And, man, I'm just a fan of his. And I'm a fan of yours for sticking around to the end of the Wild Ride podcast. It's the end of the year here. I'm back at the ranch. I've done my last shows, my last live shows for a little while. I'm taking a break. I'm really looking forward to getting a break, man. Really looking forward to it. But all kinds of fun stuff going on, and I've got all kinds of love for you. Thank you for sticking around, and happy holidays. Yeah, dude.